All right, good morning, everybody. I want to start the show very, very quickly. We got some special guests coming in at around 7:30 a.m. approximately. So I want to get things started. I want to hit the ground running. Good morning to you. Numerous things to discuss today. That we need to get into, my friends. And not the least of which is what happened to Andrew Brown Jr. I'm not sure you've been following this case, but it's got a tragic ending and a lot of question marks from the family and the community, all right? But to kick things off, and I told you I would do this, I've got some folks coming in to talk about a local issue. You know, we're live, local, and vocal here. It's happening in the city of Cincinnati. I want to talk about it. If it has an impact in the Black community, we need to talk about it. And so I've invited some folks in from the Young Activist Coalition and also the ACLU, and I can see that they're backstage right now. What's up, Yusef? How you doing? Hey, Elena, how you doing? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. They can hear me. Hey, okay, great. I want to hit the ground running because, when it hit the news, you know, we talked about it. We have to talk about these things and try to get to the bottom of it and see what's going on in our community. Hey, good morning to you. Welcome to the show. But without further ado, I want to bring them straight on because I know time is of the essence. And I want to bring, hey, what's up, Bella? How are you? Hey, good morning. So I'm going to bring everybody on, open up all the cams. Hey, what's up, Yusef? How you doing? What's going on? Hey, Elena. Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
And Bella, how you doing, Bella? Hey,
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, all of you, for making some time this morning. I really appreciate it. Can't hear you, Yusef. Can't hear you. I think he's going to work on that. I know time is of the essence, and okay, I think he's going to come back. So I'll just hit the ground running here, and so it's in the news locally that there was a new report that was done that analyzed the patterns of discipline within the Cincinnati public school system, and the conclusions are quite alarming. Quite alarming. I have two children in the Cincinnati public school system, and as you can see, I am Black. I am an African American. So any bias in terms of those discipline patterns is something that's definitely going to raise my antenna. And I'll just go straight to you. And since Yusef isn't here, I think he's trying to get back with. There he is. You back with us, Yusef? Can you hear me now? Still can't hear you, unfortunately. All right, not sure what's going on. But Bella, I'm gonna go straight to you and also Elena, while Yusef is hooking up his microphone here, just to kind of talk about the report. What was the impetus behind it, and what was the methodology? And for folks who are not aware, what did you find? Anybody, Bella?
Bella, I'm happy to let you talk to it first, and then I can follow you.
Elaine, you can go ahead with that.
Okay. So, the ACLU is partnered with Young Activists Coalition for this. The ACLU, we noticed that Young Activists had a pretty robust campaign to ask Cincinnati Public Schools to remove police. And we know that campaign was inspired by the lived experiences of many students within the district. The ACLU stepped in after we realized that this campaign was going on. And we filed some public records requests with both the City of Cincinnati Police Department as well as the Cincinnati Public Schools District. So we, in our requests, asked for all records relating to discipline by SROs, as well as discipline by school administrators and teachers within the district that relate to students on the basis of race. But then also we looked very specifically at what these students are being disciplined for, what they're being called out of class for, what they're being referred to law enforcement for. And we, as you mentioned, we found some fairly alarming things. I think the main takeaway that we have is that across the board, Cincinnati Public Schools is engaging in a pattern of punishing students to a greater extent than is necessary to alleviate the misbehavior in the classroom. We are noticing that Cincinnati Public Schools teachers and administrators are giving out detentions, suspensions, expulsions when it could be alleviated by just approaching the student in the classroom or having a one-on-one conversation with the student or the parent. We're noticing that Cincinnati Public Schools has a pattern and a culture of calling in SROs at the sign of any minor misbehavior, when historically, and we've seen within multiple other school districts across the nation, that shouldn't be the guiding principle behind SRO interaction in high schools and middle schools for that matter. The other thing that we've noticed, in addition to the massive over-policing, is these police are interacting more than they should be, but they are also interacting disproportionately with Black students. So we 63% of CPS, but they're making up 89% of police referrals within CPS, and they're making up 85% of in-school suspensions, 78% of expulsions, and 93% of out-of-school suspensions. And that also shows us that we have similar numbers that show students make up 50 some odd percent of CPS, but they are making up a disproportionately small amount of these same sorts of disciplinary infractions. And what that tells us for the most part is that SROs are arresting over 273 children per year. They're issuing 135 warrants, and they are basically the grand total of that is what it makes is over 400 students within CPS are forced to negatively interact with the justice system each year. That math equals out to about 2 students per day are being arrested by CPS officers.
Bella, Elena, could you hear Yusuf at all?
I could not. I couldn't hear you for a minute there, but you're
Yeah, that was I keep making the same mistake and muting myself. Yeah, I couldn't hear him at all. The number though, let me put the number up so maybe he can call us that way because I definitely want to get his voice in. It's 513-873-7134. I'm curious. So I got so many questions. I mean, so what are the types? What types of infractions, or what are the reasons as to why Black kids primarily are being given suspension and these exclusionary discipline tactics? Is there any commonality, any trend between the reasons behind it?
Yeah, so we're seeing multiple different reasons why students are being disciplined by SROs within school districts. The vast majority of these interactions per se are for things like assault. And when we say assault, we mean a simple fist fight. We don't mean an assault with a gun. We don't mean an assault with a knife, and we don't mean a teacher assault. We mean an instance between one student and another, and it can be as minor as a student pushing another in a hallway that a simple teacher or school administrator could break up. We're also seeing students are being disciplined for something like disorderly conduct, which is often police and school lingo for this is a catch-all offense. We don't necessarily know what else to charge them with. We don't necessarily know what else to discipline them with, but disorderly conduct often is the type of offense where a student is talking back in class, or a student is standing in the hallway instead of moving along as the teachers wish them to, or it can be a vast variety of offenses. And sure, we are seeing a few offenses where SROs or police officers might be called in otherwise for things like a teacher assault or for things like menacing. But for the vast majority of these cases that we're seeing, something over 70 or 80%, these are for things that school administrators and teachers should be able to de-escalate, and SROs don't need to be involved at all.
What's the time frame for which this report replies? You said you did a freedom of information request. Are we talking about the last calendar school year, before COVID? Are we talking about the last 5 years? What's the time frame?
So it's more broad than that. We requested records all the way back to the beginning of the 2016-2017 school year. So we have data for the last four calendar school years. And we're still trying to ensure that we have this data going forward. Obviously this report is backwards looking, and we'd like to make sure that CPS is accountable with their data in a forwards looking manner. So we are going to continue asking them for data as time goes on, just because we want to see what these trends are in the future. But what we've seen is pretty alarming. Obviously, the data that we received for this report, specifically from the district as well as the police department, are from 2016 to present. The school district is also required by the federal government to submit disciplinary statistics every 2 years to the Department of Education Civil Rights Data Collection. The data collection often underreports rather than overreports. So we generally know that when we look at this data, to kind of take it with a grain of salt and assume that these statistics are usually higher than they actually are, only because whenever they report to the Civil Rights Data Collection, they have to report formal interactions, and they don't need to report, kind of informal things that were handled without, the need for paperwork. So looking through the Civil Rights Data Collection, we've looked back over the last decade, but with the formal, individual incident reports we have for the last 4 school years.
Yeah, that's a big question mark right there, Elena. The informal interactions.
Absolutely.
I suspect from with my own experience with CPS that there's a whole lot more in that informal interaction in which teachers and their behavior has been called to the question, but because there's no real document, it's kind of like a conversation and then it just kind of goes away. And CPS doesn't currently have to, or correct me if I'm wrong, do they currently document those informal interactions, or is it just kind of like we don't know because there's no paperwork?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I'm good.
Perfect.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Nathan?
I'm doing great. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I think, so personally, as someone who has had a negative interaction with an SRO, as someone who was threatened with arrest as a result of protesting on the CPS campus, it's one of those things where if they really don't have to record it, as in if they will not get in trouble for it, they won't do it. They record things sometimes as referrals or what is it? Not the conversations, Elena. What are they recorded as?
Yeah, so they're often reported as conferences. The major takeaway here is CPS keeps absolutely no records of disciplinary interventions by SROs within the district. CPS unilaterally signed over its rights to oversee or hold accountable CPD within its own district. This contract, and the technical term for it is a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU for short, between the district and the police department. Within the actual specs of that contract, CPS completely gave over its right to determine which officers are within the district, who the officers are, what schools they're placed in, how many officers are within the district, their ability to provide independent performance evaluations for these officers, or the ability to receive data from CPD about anything that the officers are doing. So whenever we say that CPS has literally no information for how SROs are acting on their campus, we mean that to the fullest extent. You know, when we presented this data to a few board members of CPS, they didn't know it existed. They'd never seen it before. This is the first time that, while the public is seeing this data for the first time, it's also the first time that most administrators within CPS are seeing this. And one thing that you kind of mentioned earlier is the conferences and how these numbers are even more stark in informal interactions. Our numbers show this too. SROs often are tasked with being a mentor to students, or at least that's what they are held out to be. And you know, we'd like to come at this in a very good faith basis. And you know, we know that there are wonderful human beings within the SRO program. Unfortunately, the SRO program is functioning in a very unfair way to CPS students. And so what's happening is, if SROs are not arresting students or are not issuing warrants to students, they are still informally interacting with them. One way that they do this is with parent or student conferences. And across the entire SRO program, over 1,515 conferences were held on an annual basis, on average. And this kind of use of conferences is a very loose term. I mean, there are no policies mandating what a conference is, who has to be in the room, what is talked about. You know, for all we know, this could be a 45-minute long, life-changing conversation with a student where the student just completely decides to change the course of their life and no longer has any negative law enforcement interactions in the future. More likely, what this looks like to us is a conversation with a student in a hallway that lasts 30 seconds. Or, as we've seen in a couple of the records, a mass email that goes out to 100 parents at a time with no follow-up and no individualization of students. So these conferences either are really helpful or they're extremely not helpful. And it's more likely than not that these conferences aren't actually having a beneficial effect on students. And all of these numbers don't even, they don't even factor in the just simple presence of SROs in a hallway, of just them being there or them saying hello to a student and that student having an effect on the rest of their day. Those numbers aren't represented in this.
You know, I see this as almost like it's all the same, but it's almost like, you know, two elements here, two conversations. One, it's the SROs and their overall presence, and is that a positive thing for our schools? But it's also the way that discipline is doled out across the board, even when SROs are not brought into the conversation. Through your analysis, did you find any particular schools in particular had more startling trends than others?
I think that's a really, really great question. We didn't find that particular data, but here's the actual reason why this is. We know that there are specific schools within CPS that are being policed more than other schools. That's a fact. The fact that students are being disproportionately targeted because of their race tells us that that is likely, within high schools as well, and within middle schools even. The way that CPD keeps their records makes this really, really hard for us to figure out. And that's something that we're calling for accountability within both CPD and CPS. The way that CPD keeps their records is they report arrests by officer rather than by school. So it's a very convoluted way that you have to go back and figure out, which schools students were arrested from rather than, which officer they're arrested by. So we did that in specific ways, but we don't have, confirmation from the police department about this. So that is, obviously a concern for us. We're almost positive that schools that, aren't Walnut Hills and aren't Spencer and aren't Clark are getting higher numbers of police interaction.
With regards to
No, go right ahead, Yusef.
I was gonna say, with regards to actual discipline, we do have school-specific discipline data for things like in-school suspensions, and expulsions. And in those, we did find that there were some CPS schools where, like Walnut, for example, where Black students make up around 20% of the student population, but account for nearly 3/4 of all suspensions and expulsions and referrals to police. Sometimes more, but there's similar data like that across the board. So, for example, at Aiken High School, Black students make up 85% of total enrollment, but account for 91% of in-school suspensions, 100% of out-of-school suspensions, 95% of expulsions, and 100% of referrals to police. And again, this is from the Civil Rights Data Collection, so it's more than likely underreported.
Hold on, let me back up, Yusef. That blows me away. You see, you're saying at Walnut Hills, the student population is 20% Black, but it makes up 3/4 of the exclusionary discipline, that's doled out?
So Black students at Walnut Hills High School account for 26% of all the total enrollment. They account for 50% of out-of-school suspensions, but like I said, nearly 3/4 of referrals to law enforcement. Which is, considering the fact that Walnut is only 26% Black, the fact that they account for nearly 3/4 of all police referrals is pretty damning. And we don't want to make this an issue just about one school.
Right.
And so it's important to note that this is across the board. At schools with lower, a smaller proportion of Black student populations, it's always, there's incredibly disproportionate targeting of Black and brown students.
Wow, that's mind blowing. That's mind blowing to me. But as a CPS parent, I got to tell you, I'm not that surprised by it, just based upon my own observations and conversations and experiences. Is CPS aware of this? And are you in conversation with either the administration, CPS, and/or school board members? And so, what has been their reaction to it?
Belle, I'm not sure if you want to take this one.
Since we were presenting this data to different board members, and like Elena said, they weren't aware of it, they react and I think they're very surprised by it, and they really want this to change, the disproportionality especially. But we want to, for a lot of board members, I think wanting to change the disproportionality is where they want to end. And we really don't want to end there. We want to make sure that we're changing the whole of discipline and how Cincinnati Public Schools disciplines our children, because when we don't want to just say we want to have Black children and white children arrested at the same amount. That's crap. Why would we want that ever? And so we want to stress for all board members and for anyone in the community that it's not enough to have them disproportionately punished, because and I don't really think that we could ever get there, just because of how racism affects every part of our lives in schools. And a lot of board members, I feel, want to avoid this issue almost, and I feel that they want to stress like, oh, we're doing this, but we've been doing this, and we're going to try so hard, but they don't understand that it's not enough. What they're doing is not enough. The anti-racism policy that they pass is not enough, and that they need to actually have concrete solutions to this, and we can't just be feeding them all this stuff.
So my question is, and thank you for that, Bella. My question is, so did you reach out to all the school board members?
We reached
Have they
out.
all been?
Sorry, go ahead. We reached out to 5 individual school board members, and I know YAC on their own, prior to our partnership, reached out to even more community members and school board members and members of the CPS administration. We've currently had conversations, individualized conversations with 3 school board members. And, you know, it's been a big mixed bag. We've seen one school board member formally endorse what we're asking for after we showed them the data. I think, you know, all the school board members previously were coming from a position of, you know, this is a really tenuous topic and it's a scary topic, and we get that. And there's, you know, this is something where it doesn't really seem like there is a singular solution that all community members are going to be happy with, and we get that. But once we kind of present the data, one school board member, very notably, I remember, told us that they were previously very pro SRO, but whenever we showed them what the statistics are for the students, they said, not only is it clear that this program isn't beneficial, it is actively harmful to the students within CPS. And I think that that's a really great illustrator of exactly what this program is doing to our students and our community. Aside from that particular board member, we've seen various levels of support for what we're doing within the board, ranging from total endorsement to calling the data invalid, despite the fact that the data came from the school and the police department specifically. We've also seen calls from the school that we are not amplifying the voices of the community and we haven't spoken with enough people, despite the fact that YAC currently has a petition with over 400 signatures. And we have a partnership survey between the ACLU and YAC going to assess people's view of discipline, SROs, and CPS's institutions of disciplinary guidelines. So if you would like to have your voice be a part of this, we'd love to hear what you have to say. We are making an active effort to consult as many members of the community as possible. CPS, on the other hand, has consulted minimal voices, and that's a concern for us for various number of reasons.
And I'd like to just kind of hop on that a little bit.
Go right ahead.
Because yesterday, I'm not sure if you were watching, but the CPS school board talked a lot about SROs, both in the Health and Safety Committee meeting that occurred at 4 p.m. and the general board meeting at 6:30. And one of the largest things that they continue to say about Young Activist Coalition is that, oh, we're not getting enough community support. But the reality is that they are well aware of is that Young Activist Coalition and our demands to get school resource officers and all policing outside of schools and replacing zero tolerance discipline with mental health supports in the forms of psychologists, social workers, and counselors and other forms of supports, as well as the use of restorative justice, is endorsed by Cincinnati's Anti-Police Brutality Coalition, the Greater Cincinnati Homeless Coalition, the Cincinnati Tenants Union, the IJPC, Evan Holt's campaign for city council, Dr. Kareem Moffitt's organization, Youth Hear Us Now, Cincinnati for Justice, a board member, as Elena mentioned, and like several other community members. We've had support from parents, from teachers, from other students who are not even in Young Activist Coalition, all say that this is something that they want, that this is what they need in order to have safe schools and schools that are places where they're able to thrive, where they're not faced with the fact that 2 kids are arrested every single day. And so that's something that's very important for me to point out. And then coupling that with the fact that CPS is basing their entire argument that the solution to this very big systemic problem is better relationship with individuals, a better relationship with individual school resource officers, which is essentially training kids to respond better to school resource officers, rather than addressing the resource officers themselves, is based on the Speak Up, Speak Out committee, who we have spoken to, which is made up of 3 students, 3 leadership students, and a survey from Cohere, which addressed a grand total of 32 people who were in the presence of police officers while they were getting their opinions in this focus group. So if you want to ask me which of us is not doing enough community outreach and seeing what the community wants, that absolutely falls on the district.
Thanks for making that point. My question, I want to go back to school board real quick. So are there any school board members who you have not been able to have contact with? And if so, who are they?
Bella, you want to take this one?
Yeah. Am I allowed to say that? Okay. That's there have been some. We have not met with Eve Bolton. We haven't met with Melanie Bates. We haven't met with Pamela Bowers yet, and we did meet with the board president Carolyn Jones once, and then she didn't want to meet again after that. She said that, I can't remember the exact phrasing of her email, but she said that she didn't really want to continue the conversation, basically, that she didn't want to commit to any more conversations. Yeah, I think is that all? I'm pretty sure. But
it is worth noting that we are still continuing to have these individual conversations with board members. We have reached out to Pamela Bowers. We're really hoping that she'll be open to meeting. We've also continued to meet with Ben Lindy, Mike Morosky, and Ryan Messer. I think Mike Morosky has been the one that we've had the most meetings with thus far, followed by Ryan Messer and Ben Lindy. And they've been really, really helpful and instrumental in kind of letting us know where the board and the district are on this issue. It's been very interesting to hear what they have to say. Obviously, we're hoping that the board comes around on this issue. They seem to be very bogged down in the idea that this is that we're singularly attempting to address SROs within the district. And that's not true. While we are attempting to address SROs, and that is, probably the top line of what we're trying to do, we're also at the exact same time wanting to address disproportionate discipline by CPS officials, by teachers, by school administrators. Getting cops out of school is not the end all be all solution. Getting cops out of school without instituting massive disciplinary reform by CPS isn't going to solve the problem. CPS has to be willing to enact multiple different reforms at once if they would like to see a change in the way that their numbers are showing that Black students are disproportionately disciplined.
Who makes the decision in these individual school buildings about discipline? Is it the assistant principals that are doing this? I'm trying to figure out who's actually making a decision about what behaviors warrant in-school suspension or exclusionary discipline practices and or calling in SROs into situations.
That is generally, yeah. I was going to say the doling of suspensions or expulsions whenever they believe students of color deserve it for existing is generally done by administrators, so principals, assistant principals, and the punishment is almost always, because it's so broad, because of the disorderly conduct category, they pretty much have full control over what punishment a student gets, and usually SROs, more often than not, are called by administrators.
Teachers also have the right to call an SRO in within the district. So while the assistant principal primarily are the ones that usually dole out suspensions and expulsions, obviously the level of discipline changes based on who is able to give it out. So teachers can give out detentions, teachers can give out law enforcement referrals, but the major disciplinary things that we're seeing that CPS giving out, the expulsions, the out of school suspensions, those are by administrators. The police referrals can be by teachers or administrators.
So we're talking about the school to prison pipeline, and we're talking about biased discipline. We need to know and focus on who these administrators are and what they're doing. Do you have any idea the demographics across the board? Like, who is a CPS administrator in terms of racial demographics, gender demographics, age? Do you have any information about that?
I think it's important for us to note, first and foremost, that this is not a problem of individuals. It's not a problem with individual administrators. You could pretty much put anyone, including myself, Bella, or Elena, in those positions, and these same statistics would likely come out. because at the end of the day, the issue is not the individuals shaping the system, it's the systems shaping the individuals. And so the system of punitive discipline and policing are inherently racist and will breed racism. They will continue to disproportionately target students of color, literal children, and funnel them into the prison system because that's what they're designed to do. So while I don't know the actual specific demographics of the administrators, it is important to note that it's not just an issue with them, but rather the entire system.
No, I generally agree with that, Youssef. I do. I feel you on that. But just like, we have conversation about saying we need more Black teachers for all of the reasons as to why we need that kind of diversity in our classrooms. I'm wondering about the diversity in general across the board of the administrators in CPS and how that impacts and shapes their decisions and the environments and the culture they bring as well. I don't know if those numbers even exist or how we would get them, but I'm just very curious about it. Although I do recognize and understand your point.
We're curious about those issues as well, and we would certainly love to see the demographics from the district about what the racial and gender and ability makeups of the staff and administration are within CPS. We do know, I think I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but national data has consistently told us that schools that are made up of non-white teachers and non-white administrators, whenever they are able to be a role model of sorts for non-white students, those students excel better, but they make better grades academically. But even more than that, whenever schools are led by non-white teachers and non-white administrators, often Black students are not funneled into the school to prison pipeline at the same rates or at all. We're seeing that schools that have Black teachers, whenever the majority of their classroom is Black, these teachers are de-escalating situations. They're not calling in SROs. They're not issuing exclusionary discipline and removing students from the classroom. They're handling these misbehaviors within the classroom so that these students are learning from their behavior so that they don't do it again. And that's something that we would love to see CPS institute. We know that they've made an active effort to increase diversity in hiring. We'd like to see that go further. But we agree. We think that is certainly one way that CPS can combat the school to prison pipeline.
Oh, most I appreciate that. I'm not sure what your time frame is, Youssef and Bella. How much time do you have with us?
I can say as long as you need. Bella, what
okay,
about
great.
You?
Great.
Also, I have class at 8:20, but I can be in two places at once.
Okay. Oh, now what about the superintendent? The superintendent, Loris Mitchell, she is a Black female. Have you had contact with her or her staff about your analysis?
She has all of the data. She knows all the same information that we do. And the discipline data, I imagine she's known for actually longer than we have. So has she been responsive? No. Does she know everything that we know and know exactly what would fix this problem? Yes. Is she doing anything about it? Also no.
And, sorry.
No, go right ahead, Bella.
She is the one who organized the student group Speak Up, Speak Out. And generally on board meetings when we have public comments and we state our demands and those kinds of things, she pulls we have talked to actual, Black students, the 8 Black students in the group, and, this is what they want. And, I've organized these people and this is what they want. And she always pulls the Speak Up, Speak Out group card, which is kind of unfortunate because, as we said before, that's not very representative of the district at all. Just having 8 or so students and a district-sponsored group would not want to oppose the district with what they're doing. So we don't exactly want to, stress. Sorry, I'm done.
And even so, we've spoken with the Speak Up, Speak Out committee that the school district, I say we, YAC has spoken with the Speak Up, Speak Out committee, and they agree with us on the vast majority of what we are discussing. They agree that the discipline rates are disparate. They agree that the school district needs to address this. We agree on the vast majority of what we're talking about. The district seems to want to create a dividing line between what Speak Up, Speak Out is saying and what we're advocating for, when in fact that's not the case. You know, we're both saying that there is a discipline problem within CPS that needs to be addressed. You know, this is not a us against them. This is not a, you know, the students have differing opinions. The students by and large agree. The students by and large think that they are not being treated fairly by those who are in a superior position to them, and that they deserve justice within their schools.
Absolutely, 100%. So again, circling back to the administration, you know, is the administration is aware of it? Are they working on this issue on any level, to your knowledge, to try to address this? I mean, I'm sure they're aware of this information, and I can't believe that this is just people who don't care. So I'm wondering if maybe we're just not aware of, on some levels, that they're trying to address this in-house. Do you have any knowledge of that on any levels?
CPS likes to hide behind claims of progress, and so one of the ways in which they do that is through a program called Positive Behavior and Intervention Supports, PBIS, and that's supposedly supposed to implement restorative practices within schools. And the program in itself, in the language of the law that requires schools to do that, is actually pretty solid. The issue is that the implementation in CPS varies in every school. In some cases, the program does good work, but in others, like for example, Walnut, their solution is a SOAR store, SOAR store, that rewards kids for good behaviors and is essentially a gift shop. Their solution to systemic racism is a gift shop. And like there's varying levels of that throughout the district. The issue is that like this issue just cannot be solved on a individual school level, because individual administrators don't control the SROs, and individual administrators, based on what they say, cannot absolutely stop the use of suspensions, expulsions. And what CPS likes to do is hide behind flowery words like restorative practices, which is basically just them suspending and giving kids suspensions and school suspensions and expulsions while calling it restorative practices. On the board meeting yesterday, Ms. Bolton liked to say that, or board member Bolton was very excited to say that CPS has some mental supports and some restorative practices, but the issue is that like this data we have still exists. So clearly, like Bella said, it's not enough. Not to mention that there are several schools that have, in some cases, multiple psychologists or multiple counselors, and then some schools with zero. And that's obviously as of 2017, 2018, and CPS has not yet released the current school year's data, but that's an important thing to note, that what we're saying is it's not enough. We're not saying there's not a start. We're not saying that there hasn't been some effort. We're saying that as students who have seen this firsthand, it's just not enough.
If I might follow up on that very briefly, CPS has taken some steps. They have not taken enough steps. They have enlisted Cohere to get public opinion, but that public opinion was limited to 32 individuals with 5 SROs in the room. Obviously, we know that they claimed that the bulk of these 2 top groups that they had, one with students and one with parents specifically, that they enlisted students who had previously cited negative interactions of SROs. Our primary concern with that community group that they had is that whenever you stick 20 students who have cited previous negative interactions with SROs and you put them in the same room as 5 SROs who have identified themselves as such, it is extremely unlikely that you are going to get a candid response from those students. And likewise with the parents, particularly if it was in person, the risk of obviously the student being physically restrained or arrested or otherwise singled out by the SRO. If it was over Zoom, we know that these students have their names identifying the bottom of the screen. So either way, there was a risk inherent in these students speaking out that made it such that we have concerns about whether these students were able to actually voice how they feel about the SRO program and disparate discipline within the district. So we know that CPS has talked to Cohere. Cohere is a great organization. We think that a lot of what they do is great. This particular talking group, we have our concerns over, and that is not reflective of the organization as a whole. The other thing that we know that CPS is doing is, they've created this Speak Up, Speak Out community. We don't think that group is necessarily representative of the whole of CPS either. That group was handpicked by the administration of the district, whereas YAC, our community supporters, and the ACLU supporters that have stepped up behind our campaign here we're not handpicking. We're simply circulating this out to the community, talking to as many people as we can. Up to now, I know that we've spoken individually to at least 100 people. We've talked in groups to hundreds more. So I think that we have a pretty broad view of what the community is thinking in terms of disparate discipline rates within CPS. And so I think that's something that we'd like to push back against the district on, is the idea that they have, that they have solicited the opinion of the majority of the community, because that's not true.
You mentioned community many times. As a member of the community, how can we support you? What are you asking the community to do to support these efforts?
Yusuf, do you want to do it?
Bella, I'm not sure if you want to take this one.
I can. Like I said earlier, and like Elena said earlier, we do have a petition circulating that you could sign that and just show your support as a community member. But also, we would love for community members, parents, or students and teachers to just pay attention to what the board has been doing, and just be able to see this data on your own, and just think about your student, think about your or if you're a parent, understand you have to understand what's going on in your school, and just pay attention to what the board has been doing. That's just something we want to ask, because when we're ignorant about these things, we just let them happen. And so by paying attention and really being able to understand what's going on, that'd be awesome. You can also just try to just have conversations with other students. We understand that we are not representative of the whole student body of Cincinnati Public Schools. We are wanted kids. We have spoken to kids from Hughes High School and some other high schools as well. But we would love it if parents from these schools and teachers from these schools would talk to their students about this issue and encourage them to get involved with us. That would be because we want to make sure that we are fully representing the whole student body, and especially get more Black and Brown voices into this conversation.
And that's what I just love to just emphasize is, if you know any students, especially Black and Brown students in CPS, especially at non-Walnut, non-Hughes schools, please absolutely send them our way, because we are, unlike a certain district I know, genuinely interested in uplifting the voices of people in these schools. We are genuinely interested in working to be representative of the student body and of the vast majority of different experiences within CPS. So if anyone is willing to help with that.
I think I'll echo what both of them have said previously. I think the three biggest things that community members, parents, students, alumni, anyone in the community who wants to help us amplify this situation and make sure that it stays present in the minds of school board members and the administration of CPS, there are three main ways that they can help. One is they can take our survey that YAC and ACLU have jointly put out, so that we can assess exactly what community members would like to see changed within CPS. What we plan to do is anonymously give this to the district and say, hey, here's what your community members want. So this is a really great way to show that the community actually does want disciplinary reform within CPS. So that's one way you can help. The second way is by calling, emailing, contacting board members in any way. We want your voices heard if you are willing to do that. We'd like for the community to show that this is something that is at the forefront of our minds as well. And that's something that it's not going to go away. The school board isn't going to be able to push this under the rug, and in 6 months, we're just going to stop asking. This is going to be an issue regardless of whether they're going to admit it or not. And we're going to keep fighting for change here. The third thing that they can do is YAC and ACLU. YAC has an incredible organization where they have organized so many of their members and community supporters to speak at board meetings advocating for changes for the disciplinary reform, for termination of the contract between the police department and the school district. Any community members that would be willing to speak in public comment at board meetings to amplify this message, we would be eternally grateful for something like that. So those are the 3 ways that people can help us: by the survey, by contacting board members, and by speaking at board meetings.
Appreciate that. Moving forward, can we expect a similar analysis, a report done on a yearly basis? What's the plan with the ACLU and YAC moving forward as it relates to that report? Because I think it's so important because it catches the attention of media, right? And I think it informs the community. So is this something you're going to do moving forward on a year-by-year basis, or what are the next steps?
We're hoping to kind of, one of the asks to CPS, one of our primary asks that's present in the report is that they publish this discipline data on an annual basis without us having to kind of drag it out of them, that they would be transparent with us. So obviously one of our hopes is that we would be able to look at this data and put out similar reports and similar updates to exactly what's happening. And obviously our hope here is that we're going to see it trending downward, and we're going to see, currently Black students within CPS are 5 times more likely to face exclusionary discipline. It would be great if one day that number was 0, if that number was 0.1. And that's, I think that is the goal here, is for CPS to put out the data and for us to be able to corroborate that is true.
I love the images from the action you guys took that YAC took yesterday at the Marison Academy, because again, it grabs people's attention. It makes people pay attention. And then again, and in terms of media, it gives us something to talk about, like, wow, now there's something that's going on that people need to know about. So can we expect more sort of those kind of community actions from YAC?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I will be graduating and stepping down from YAC in a few months, but Bella, if you want to talk about the future.
Yeah, sad to say that Yusuf's going to go and that some of our seniors are going to go, but Owen, the vice president of YAC, and I and so many other YAC members were super excited to take over and lead the charge. And we've been planning a lot of cool stuff for this. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had an alarm go off for my first bell. But we have been planning a lot of cool actions, like involving art. We really want to involve other students and show their creativity and different actions. We've been planning different yard signs, like art builds, those kinds of cool things. And definitely we're going to be doing more actions that are similar to the one yesterday, because when Ryan Messer said something yesterday on the Health and Safety Committee about having us be more respectful to them and how it really greatly inconvenienced him that he had to use the side door to get into the committee building. And I'm so sorry for him, but I really would like I really want to say, like, how inconvenienced and how traumatized are those kids that we arrest twice a day, and how inconvenienced are the children who get suspended and expelled every day. And we just want to make sure that we are prioritizing children here overall. But yeah, you can expect a lot more from us in the future. We're going to keep going. We're not going to, just because we are quote unquote disrespectful, we're not going to sit down.
Yeah, please do. I mean, y'all out here doing more than the adults. I love it. I love the energy. I don't have to agree with everything, but I think that youth-led organizations are exactly what's moved the needle in this country since the beginning of it. So I love what you're doing. Keep it up. And the door is always open. Just hit me up. We're connected now. And whatever's going on, this platform is an open book for you. So with that, thank you so much for being here. I know Bella and everybody has to move on. Youssef, Elena, thank you so much for your time this morning, educating our audience here. And I'll be in connection with you.
Thanks for having us on and for helping us amplify this issue. We appreciate you.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day. Have a great day. I appreciate you.
You too.
Yeah, most def. Great conversation. Great conversation. I meant what I said. I mean, they out here doing more than some of these grown folks who run their mouth all day. They out here getting it, making it happen. What we gonna do? What you gonna do? That's what the question is. Everybody got something to say. I see action from these young folks. I love it. Keep doing it. I don't have to agree with everything. But I mean, if that's how they feel, I mean, that's what this country was based upon, right? That's democracy in action. And quite honestly, I mean, I'll have to confirm for myself, but some of the things that they said from these school board members is quite disappointing. It's quite, if it's true. I have no reason to believe otherwise. Why would they come on these airwaves and lie? But quite disappointing. But, you know, based upon some of my own interactions, I ain't surprised. Like I said, we got some people in influence positions that don't need to be there. Quite honestly, enough is enough. But we'll save that for a later date as we get closer to the election time. Because some of that is disappointing. I can't wait to ask some of these school board members, like, is this true? What did he say? What? who elected these people? Yeah, man, listen, no wonder. That's all I can say. But the larger issue is what they brought up in terms of discipline. And as I said to them, you know, I see it as two ways. One is the issue of SROs, which I've had my own interactions working within a CPS building. And I've seen positive interactions, but I understand the overall conversation and what they're saying about SROs. But then also the way the exclusionary discipline practices are being doled out. Well, Black kids are getting it worse. And it comes down to these administrators and the teachers, the decisions that they're making. And, you know, two words didn't come up, and maybe they should have: implicit bias. Maybe that's what the culprit is behind it. We don't really know, but, you know, unfortunately, I ain't surprised. I'm not surprised. I mean, it's startling, it's eye-opening, but it's not surprising for anyone. It's not surprising for me. Again, as I keep saying, based upon my own experiences. And, you know, people need to be called out, and the community needs to stand up and let their voice be heard. It's too much Cincinnati politeness going on. It's too many grown folks in media that's want to be friends. I want to be friends. I don't give a damn about no friends. That means nothing to me. It's about making sure our school buildings work the way they're supposed to work. Friends be damn. It means nothing to me. What good is somebody's friendship and you abusing our children? Nothing. But there's too much of that going on in this city. Everybody want to be nice and polite and not call people out and call it for what it is because they afraid of this. I ain't afraid of nothing and no one. Whatever happens, happen. It is what it is. But the community needs to move forward. And these issues need to be addressed today, not tomorrow. It ain't about who you like, who you friends with, who you went to school with. It's about, are you moving the needle forward for our children? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, your ass got to go, period. I don't care who you are, any and all. Makes no difference to me. If you're not willing to do what it needs to be done for our children, then get your ass out the way. And let's get somebody in there that's willing to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. But things get politicized, and I went to school with them, and we're friends. We have lunch together. Okay, that Cincinnati politeness is why we are where we are. But we don't do Cincinnati polite here on the Nathan Ivey Show. We don't do that. We're anti-Cincinnati polite. We're going to name the names, expose the games and the lames. That's what we're going to do, period. Simple, every single day. And we always going to deal with the truth and the facts. Always with the truth and the facts. If it ain't true, I ain't got time for it. If it is true, I got all day for it. Simple as that. And it's always about positivity. It's always about moving the needle in the community forward in a positive way so we can make Cincinnati the city that everybody wants it to be. I believe very strongly that everybody wants CPS to be the kind of school system that we envision it to be. Everybody wants that. We are all in the same place. We all rowing in the same direction, but we got some tough decisions to make and some tough conversations to have. And I'm here for it. I, for one, am here for it. I can't speak for anybody else, but I's here for it. So I appreciate them coming on today. and sharing their time. I hope they do this analysis every single year. So, because again, in terms of media, this is good for media. This is easy for media to digest and to amplify because we can see the numbers, and it gives us something to talk about. It makes it very easy for media. People say, well, you don't need analysis and studies. No, yes, you do. You do, because when you quantify things, it makes it easier for people to digest. It makes it easy for people to understand. And, it just feels like there's a lot of work. This isn't going to be overnight. It's not going to be just one school. It's just going to be a years long process. And there's a lot of people, some of these administrators need to be dealt with. And I don't mean that purely negatively, like in a disciplinary way. I mean, they need some intense training. We need an intense focus on every single interaction that these administrators are having when it comes to discipline. The formal ones and the informal ones, because that's where that's the devil's in the details, those informal ones. We need full documentation every single time there's any interaction with any student. That sounds like more work, don't it? Well, so be it. That's why you get them checks. Simple as that. We need to know so that we can create analysis and reports, and we can see trends. Without it, we have no idea how to guide the conversation. So we need more data. We need more reporting. Every single time there's a complaint, we need to know what it is, the nature of it, and what the decision was. We need to know the demographics of the students involved every single time. That costs money, though. That sounds like man hours. And, as parents, we got to be willing to work hand in hand, in some cases, put our money where our mouth is, so the CPS can operate in the way that we all want it to work, right? Like, raise your hand if you want to see CPS succeed. I know I do. I want to see everybody succeed because that's where our children are. That's where my children are. That's where your children are. So I'm 100% about the positive, moving the needle for our community in general and specific to the conversation as it relates to Cincinnati Public Schools. I need to say that because some people will take my words and try to make it seem like I just want people to lose their jobs. Some, they might need to, I don't know. But really it's about making sure that the Cincinnati public school system operates and creates the type of people that we all wanted to do, right? We all want the same thing. We want success. We want each and every student to be successful. We want positive school cultures, right? We want it to work and produce the future adults that we need to lead this community, this city, this country forward. Simple as that. Now, who's against that? I know I'm not. But what do you think, family? 513-873-7134. We had to start it right at 7:30 because Bella and Youssef are they're CPS students. I wanted to make sure when she said 8:20, I know she was willing to, but I had to make sure that she's able to do that classwork. That's what it's all about, right? But I thought it was very interesting, and I'm impressed by what I see with these young folks. I love it. I'm more impressed by some of these the young folks than some of these grown ass people that's always got something to say, but ain't doing a damn thing at all. Zero. They are an example to all of us, whether you agree with what they're doing or not. The fact that they're getting active to me is impressive. And it should be motivating each and every one of us to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? What you going to do? What am I going to do? What are we going to do? That's what it's all about. Any fingers that need to be pointed, it needs to be actually a thumb right back at the individual. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to sign that petition? You might not agree with it, but I think just understanding what's happening in our city, I think is very, very important. That's an important first step. But generally speaking, what do you think about what they had to say? Shout out to the Young Activist Coalition and also the ACLU for their involvement in what's happening here. And I just look at it as good it's good information. It's good information. And hopefully CPS and the school board members, it was very disappointing to hear that some school board members, they said they haven't had a chance to really have a conversation with. But again, it's not over. We still got time. There's always today and tomorrow. So hopefully those conversations will happen in the future. It was very disappointing to hear from her words that Carolyn Jones, who is a Black female and the school board president, in their words, pretty much shut the conversation down. I don't know. If I ever get a chance to speak with Carolyn Jones, it'll be at the top of my list of questions to ask her, like, is this true? And if so, why? Because if you're an elected official, The very least, and I do mean the very least, the very, very, very least you can do is have a conversation with concerned members of the community. That's easy. Because when election season roll around, they always want to talk, don't they? They want to talk then, don't they? They want to have meetings and go on the media. They want to talk then to get them votes. Yeah, that means that if you're an elected official, when things get difficult, or even when you have a contrary opinion, my expectation is that you can at least have the conversation. A conversation is, I'm not going to say it's free because it takes some time, but that's all it takes, right? That's why you were elected. But I was happy to hear that there are some school board members that have been willing to have that conversation with them. And again, people have to make their own decision. I'm seeing I'm drawing connections here with some of these school board members. It's just not good. But again, the people will have to make their own decisions with future elections. You got an election coming up this year. You got 4 school board members that are going to be running for re-election. You got some folks that want to join the school board for the first time. We'll figure it all out. You know what I'm saying? We got a few months for all of that, but we will figure it all out. What I would ask and hope is that, sorry about that, something on my nose. What I would ask and hope is that people just remember these conversations. And I got all the tapes and they will be circulating. Believe that. So again, that's the very least we can do is just stay educated, remember these things. When election season comes up and they start having these forums and debates, ask these questions. Remember these things. Don't forget. I mean, that's easy. That's easy, and then we might get satisfactory answers for all I know. I mean, for all I know, we might talk with some of these school board members that they mentioned. They might give us an answer or response that makes sense. Like, okay, I get it. Or maybe not. I don't know. But at least I'm all about I'm pro conversation. I'm pro conversation. Nat writes, let's get her to class, Nate. LOL, right. Lemmy writes, yes, Yak, salute to be the change. Yeah, I appreciate it. These young folks out here, involved in their own, something that matters to them. And they're doing what we should all be doing. They shaming some of us. Brent writes, Nate, can you ask the Young Actors Coalition if they have members from other local schools, or is it just exclusively a Walnut Hills organization? I believe the answer to that is yes. Let me go back here because I definitely want to get your thoughts. Your thoughts mean everything this morning. Thank you for plugging into the show. Let's see. Anthony writes, good morning. Chop shoppers. There it is. Morning, chop shoppers. Good morning to you. Brandy writes, good morning. Ronald's in the house. He writes, good morning, y'all. Good morning, everybody. Cass writes, hey, choppers. Kelly writes, good morning. Pat writes, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Samantha writes, good morning. Darlene writes, happy Wednesday, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday to you. Politically Petty Podcast Show writes, morning, Nate and the Choppers. Flows ready to eat for everybody. Hashtag young people give us energy to move forward. Yes, they do. Kush writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Maurice writes, glorious resurrection. Nat writes, good hump day, Facebook choppers. Absolutely. Maurice writes, is this about brown-skinned children? She just answered. Jerome writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Maurice writes, this is their way of preparing our children for the modern day plantation. Well, I think it's implicit bias. That's why I say, I would like to know the racial and I would like to know the demographics of all CPS system-wide, all administrators, because it's the administrators and the teachers as well, but all administrators. We need that. That would be very, very valuable for us to see that information. It would give us a lot. Because some of these folks are non-Black and they have implicit bias. And when Black kids do things, they overreact. Oh, well, you know what the rules are, right? It's the same thing with the police. It's no different. Just like the police at the scene of the situation has been given a lot of responsibility and power. We've done the same thing with these administrators in our schools. On site, in the moment, they have wide latitude when your kids do something. But what is regulating their actions? What is guiding their actions? Where is the accountability? Clearly, we need it. And I think it starts with the data. It starts with the data, so we shall see. Kiki writes, Grand Risings, my loving choppers. The worst thing that can happen from this conversation is that tomorrow something happens that we just forget and move on. That'd be the worst thing that can happen. JD's in the house. She writes, how wonderful is it that our students have been leading this initiative? Proud to be a CPS grad, Hughes, Big Red, circa 2015 or 2005. Brenda writes, good morning from Fairfield. Well, Brenda, good morning to you and to Fairfield. Tiff writes, good morning. Daryl's in the house. He writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Before we get too deep in the show, again, I want to remind you that this is not an endorsement. I don't do any endorsements of political candidates. We talk about it. I'll give you my straight opinion about each and every candidate, right? But I don't make any endorsements because this is a media platform, and thus we are available to all candidates. Doesn't matter their political affiliation. And also for people that are entrepreneurs, small business owners, maybe you got an event, if you're interested in using this platform or any of the CDM podcasts or live streams to promote your business or event, let us know. You can hit me this morning with a direct message and I will respond today.
Hello, I'm Mr. Same Old Same Old. I'm running for mayor.
Hold up. Haven't you run for a bunch of offices always promising change but doing nothing?
Yeah, but
nothing. I'm not voting for the same old politicians to clean up City Hall and create change. We need to vote Prophet for mayor. He will be bold, courageous, fair, and stop corruption at City Hall. I'm voting for Prophet. Prophet for people.
I'm Raphael Prophet, and I'm asking for your vote, as I will do what is right, what is just, and what is fair. Paid for by Prophet for Mayor, Dwight Crawford, Treasurer.
hello, I'm Mr. Same Old Same Old. Hello, I'm Mr. Same Old Same Old. I'm running for mayor.
Hold up. Haven't you run for a bunch of offices always promising change but doing nothing?
Yeah, but
nothing. I'm not voting for the same old politicians to clean up City Hall and create change. We need to vote Prophet for mayor. He will be bold, courageous, fair, and stop corruption at City Hall. I'm voting for Prophet. Prophet for people.
I'm Raphael Prophet, and I'm asking for your vote, as I will do what is right, what is just, and what is fair. Paid for by Prophet for Mayor, Dwight Crawford, Treasurer.
Speaking of corruption at City Hall, you do know that on the ballot for the primary on May 4th, you've got two initiatives that are designed to deal with the corruption. And next hour, I just want to spend a little bit of time, not a little bit of time, I want to spend some time just talking about it and giving you a strong opinion about it. You don't have to agree, but I want to give you a strong opinion about it. That you can maybe bounce your thoughts off of it and tell me what you think about it as well. All right, let me circle back around here. What happened to Andrew Brown Jr.? Has anybody been paying attention to this? The FBI is now launching an investigation. Apparently, he was shot by sheriff deputies down in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. He was killed on Wednesday, April the 21st. In Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Apparently, sheriff deputies descended on his home to serve an arrest and search warrants. Apparently, he was wanted on a felony drug charge, and deputies said he had a history of resisting arrest. And the way it's coming out from members of the community, he was in his vehicle and attempted to drive away from the scene when he was killed. A team of attorneys representing Mr. Brown's family said that he had his hands on the steering wheel and posed no threat and was backing away from deputies trying to avoid being shot when he was shot. Family's outraged. The community is outraged because they've been asking for the body cams from the deputies to be released, but the police will not release the full video. Apparently, they only released about a 20-second version of it for the family and the lawyers. The rest was sort of edited out or redacted. I guess edited would probably be the better way of saying it, because redacted is when you have a document and you kind of block out parts of it in black and you can't really read it all. So they edited it out, the majority of the body cam, and only showed 20 seconds to the family. Only 20 seconds to the family. Now the family's speaking out. You seen this? Oh, just terrible, y'all. Just terrible. Yes, another one. Yes, another one. And I don't know the details. I see as much as the details that I have so far. But there is a video of the family speaking about this that I want to play for you real quick. You need to see this. All right, you ready? All right, we're going to roll tape on it. Let me make sure the volume's there. All right, check this out.
Let's be clear. This was an execution. Andrew Brown was in his driveway. The sheriff truck blocked him in his driveway, so he could not exit his driveway. Andrew had his hands on his steering wheel. He was not reaching for anything. He wasn't touching anything. He wasn't throwing anything around. He had his hands firmly on the steering wheel. They run up to his vehicle shooting.
Sure did.
He still stood there, sat there in his vehicle with his hands on the steering wheel while being shot at. Now keep in mind, this is 20 seconds. I have 3 pages of notes for 20 seconds. We watched this over and over and over to make sure we were clear at what was going on and what was transpiring. Let's be clear. This was an execution.
Yeah, so there it is, a family member of Andrew Brown Jr. I mean, man. And, you know, generally speaking, what I've seen is like there's a game or it's politics that's played with the release of these body cams. You know, generally speaking, I'm not saying that I know any details about this case in particular, but my general feeling about body cams is that when the police feel as if the shooting was justified, you see that body cam so quick, it comes out like the next day. They can't wait to get it out there because they feel like it exonerates the officer. And when it's a so-called bad shooting, they drag their feet on that shit. They'll drag their feet for years and years on this. Months and months, and if not years and years on it. They just drag their feet. They don't want to release it. The prosecutor get involved. We don't release it because they feel like when people see it, it'll spark unrest. And they might be right. So they want to control it, right? And they'll control when it comes out. And in some cases, they'll control it so it comes out like after the verdict, right? Or if there is a verdict, right? And so the fact that they are holding on to this video just doesn't seem right to me. It's like, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. And I would love to be able to say that, you know, I don't think something like that can happen, but we already know it could happen, just like she said. It could have went down just like she said. And I preface it the way I do because I don't know. I haven't seen it. That's what she's saying, this family member right here of Andrew Brown Jr. And she said it was an execution. We do know that sometimes, man, law enforcement, when they serving these warrants, man, they be on 1,000. They be on 1,000. Breonna Taylor. They be on 1,000 with it. Like they about to take Fallujah. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't Fallujah, bro. I'm just saying they be all militarized up over a simple warrant. Meanwhile, the real criminals out here robbing the block blind, robbing people blind, killing folks, moving mass drugs into the country. But you got some of these police officers in the past that go to 1,000 over some low-level drug dealer. He was a heroin dealer. I don't give a damn what he was. So, and he was a heroin dealer. But some people like that. Even some black people, they get like that. Like, well, he was dealing drugs, so he got what he got. I'm like, I'm not sure. That's the way we should be looking at it. But what happened to Andrew Brown Jr.? What happened to this brother? Is what his family member said, is that really what happened? Did his reputation precede him because he had a so-called history of resisting arrest? Like, he don't mind punching cops. Oh, really? Oh, we gonna show him. Was that what happened? We don't know. I know a lot of people are all over this. Roland Martin, a lot of folks are talking about this, as well they should be, trying to get to the bottom of it. And this becomes one more case that black people in America, people in general, right? Because it's not just black folks, but people in America look to and say, look at what the police are doing to us. Just one more case. But again, I want to see the tape. I want to see what happened. I want to see for myself what happened. And people have different opinions about this. Some people say, oh, it's like white supremacist porn. Maybe it is. But for me, I think it's overall good for us to see the real. You know, too many people try to bury their head in the sand. Don't bury your head in the sand. Look at it. See it for what really happened. See it. See how ugly it really is. See how gruesome it really is. So, I mean, I can definitely wait to see it. But as a member of the media and the community, I think it's important for us to see, especially down there in North Carolina. You know, put it out there. I mean, listen, you know, this is your government in action. It's your taxpayer dollars in action. So what happened to this brother? I don't know. Another sad, tragic situation. Is it possible that what the family member said is true, that he was in the car trying to back away and then the sheriff deputies blocked him? So now maybe he was in a situation where he was trying to ram the car. I'm purely speculating because I don't have any more information than you do. But just to carry the thought all the way out, is that what happened? Terrible situation right there. Just terrible. Let me jump inside the chop shop and see what's up. Sharp writes, good morning, Nate and Choppers. Good morning to you, Sharp. CG Dub writes, good morning, Choppers. Brenda writes, happy Wednesday. Tanika writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Ashley writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Sharp writes, good interview. Old school mindset fears the new youth movement. Really? I don't have no fear with the youth. I love it. I love it. I love it when young people get involved. I love it across the board. Even if I disagree with it, as long as it's not something that's some dumb-ish. If it's on some positivity, I'm with it. And what I heard from the Young Activists Coalition is all positive. Did he say that Ryan Messer said some fly-ish about how he was inconvenienced? Really, Ryan? I know you watching. Did you really say that? I can't wait to find that tape complaining because you had to go through the side door. Really? I have to see it for myself. I mean, I take their word for it, but you know me, before I form Voltron, I got to see it for myself. I got to confirm it for myself. But really? That would be completely disrespectful. But wasn't Ryan Messer one of these dudes running around talking about how he was being bullied back, early in the year? Talking about, oh, yeah, we are being bullied. No, you're not being bullied, Ryan. You're being held accountable. You decide to be an elected official on the school board. I didn't tell you to run. You decided to do that. So here's what you get. It all comes with it. You got that nice little, reserved parking space over there at Merriton Academy. I drive past there. I see the cones up there, reserved for school board members. You are somebody in the community. This is what happens. When ish hit the fan, people won't ask you questions. And when you're talking about putting people's kids in harm's way, guess what? Parents are going to react. Remember that scene at the end of the Avengers Endgame movie? Remember Captain America? He suited up. He was getting his ass whooped by Thanos. It was a wrap for Cap. You know there's a new black Captain America, right? You ain't hit by everybody love Marvel now, don't you? Marvel's been tight for 30 years. It was tight 30 years ago when y'all was running around calling people like me nerds because we was in the comic books. No, we just love great stories. Now everybody love Marvel. Everybody love Marvel now. It was always dope. And the X-Men is the dopest, quite honestly. The dopest shit, they ain't even really hitting with Marvel. The X-Men was the dopest. And for black folks, underserved communities, if they could ever get their act right and deliver the X-Men series that we need, you're going to love it. Because that was written with us in mind. That's why I used to read it back in the day. Now everybody love it. Anyway, they'll get to it now. But now we got a new black Captain America, if these kind of things matter to you. I think black superheroes are very important for the overall culture. But, it's just pop culture. I know. But back to the point here. Back to the point. 513-873-7134. Good morning to you. Good to see you. Danita writes, Wanted Hills doesn't speak for every school in the district. There are over 80 schools in the district. Really? Tell us something we don't know, Danita. We know that. Really? We know. We know you got a problem with Wanted Hills. Are you aware that the Ohio House legislators are trying to allow teachers to be armed in their schools through House Bill 99? Do they agree with that? You know what? I missed that, TNT. I definitely would have asked him that question. Something tells me no. Sister Irish writes, we've met with YAC as well. It don't surprise me. Because we already know who the real positive change agents in our community are. I ain't surprised one bit. Not one bit. Lemmy writes, have any of the panelists been in schools for a week at least? 3 different schools to build their data? Maurice writes, they are telling us right now that they are after our babies. A person can only talk so much before actions are needed. They killed our true revolutionaries, and that scared many of us and took the fight out of most of us. For those that can, I'm looking for here. For those that can legally carry guns, get together, have lawyers present, and someone who will speak out and go to all of these places. Those with guns stand outside and let the lawyers and the speaker go in and speak. I will be the speaker, and I am not afraid. Let me see. Danita writes, what other schools have been contacted? I'm not sure what you mean. So, as I understand it, YAC has members in multiple schools. And they're looking for more involvement, which they said that they want representation from every single school. But you got a whole lot of scared parents, and scared parents create scared children. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of punked out, scared ass parents that don't get involved. Oh, they're gonna retaliate, and so they pass that down to their kids. Don't get involved. Keep your head down. Don't look them in the eyes, and all this kind of dumb shit. I ain't for none of that. None of that. I ain't doing none of that with nobody. But you know, so scared parents create scared children. So it might be a whole bunch of punked out parents that create kids. You know, don't look at them in the eye. Don't get involved. Don't get involved. Oh, look away. Can we look over now? It's a whole bunch of that in Cincinnati. And it ain't just black folks. It's white folks too. It's a whole bunch. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to say nothing. Oh boy, don't get involved. It's a whole bunch of that. So I don't know. I don't know. In terms of the data, from what I asked them, they said they took data from all of the schools. So it is what it is. Ronald Hummer's in the house. Good to see you, brother. He writes, how can we support these young activists? I think this is a great start. I think it's a great start too. And like anybody that's doing some positive stuff for me in the community, you got my support. You already know. That's the least I can do. Because of this guy right here. Man, I got a son. He go to CPS. Yeah, that's why I do what I do. And we ain't raising no punks in the Ivy household at all. He's 6 now, but wait until he get 26. He gonna be a problem. Trust me. He gonna be a real problem. Let me see. You all right? TNT writes, who are these chronic offending administrators? That's a really good question. That's why I asked about the particulars for the schools, because are there certain schools that the data shows have a higher instances of biased discipline? Because if so, we need to know. It lets us know where to focus. It lets CPS and the superintendent know where to focus. Because they got the real power. We just citizens. We just parents. You know what I'm saying? We just citizens. They got all the real institutional power. They're the ones that can make something happen. Let me write system shaping. Yeah, absolutely. Denise got a real problem with Walnut, but she gonna send her kids to Walnut. You need to get over that, sis. You way off on that one. Let me see. Eric writes, other schools hold more weight on this topic. They have many of the students that require SRO assistance. Again, I'm gonna listen to the young folks. That's what I'm gonna listen to. All I know is I see the young folks from YAC. If there's another opinion, then let them rise up, start their organization, and take the stage, and we'll listen to them too. But until they show up, we're gonna have to talk with and deal with the folks that's already done it. So I don't know. I think that if you're that concerned about it, then you get involved. Get your kids involved. Go out there and help them organize at these schools. I mean, that's what I would say. But I'm not going to tear them or anybody else down or try to invalidate them when they the ones out here doing it. That's all. We see that's that divide and conquer mentality. Like I say, they don't even have to do that with us. Some of us is going to do that to us. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. If you're really concerned about it, hit them up on Facebook. They'll tell you. They're very accessible, good people. That's just how I roll, man. When I see people doing something, I'm not going to nitpick them to death. And until somebody else stand up and say something different, I'm going to roll with them. Simple as that. That's how I look at it. So I don't know. I'm not going to hold it against them because they're from Walnut Hills. That the data they came up with was from the ACLU as well. They looked at all of the schools. I don't give a damn what school they come from. Quite honestly, it makes no difference to me. It's the data that's the most important thing. So let's keep focused on the right thing. Like I said, they don't even have to do that to us. Some of us are going to do that to us. It is what it is. It's sad. It's sad. But that's just my attitude. When I see people stand up with these organizations, I look back and I think to myself, is this some real shit or some dumb shit? If it's some real shit, I roll with it. I try to support it. And if it's some dumb ish, I ignore it and keep going. And what I'm hearing from the Young Activist Coalition is real. I don't detect no dumb ish. We might disagree back and forth about SROs, but what I would say is people should look at their data before they try to tear it down. I think that would be the most intelligent thing to do. Look at the data. Ask yourself. Here it is right here. Ask yourself. Again, I can send you this PDF, or you can send it to them via email, or you can reach out to them via Facebook, and I'm sure they'll respond to you. And my question is, if this data is accurate, then it opens the door for more questions. You know, this data is not specific to Walnut Hills or any other school. It's Cincinnati Public Schools, period. And part of dealing with a problem is admitting you have a problem. You can't deal with an issue. It's like an addiction. I'm not addicted to drugs, but you drink every day. You drinking whole bottles every day. I ain't got no drug problem. First, you got to admit it. We ain't got no bias discipline problem, but the data says otherwise. Yeah, we ain't got no problem. If the data is true, the data is true. We got to deal with it. I don't know. Let me see. Nat writes, Laura Mitchell is in charge and black, right? Correct. Again, I got to believe that there's a lot of good people inside of PPS. I know this to be true inside of CPS who are aware and care about this stuff. Why else would you do the job if you don't care? I just can't believe that Laura Mitchell and the other administrators, like the assistant superintendents, I refuse to believe that they don't care. I refuse to believe that. Because why else do the job? Why? You can get paid in a lot of different ways. I want to believe that the people that are doing this job are doing so because they care. And perhaps these kind of movements can open their eyes. Maybe this data may open their eyes and push them in a direction that's positive. That's what I want to believe. Lemmy writes, CPS is more diverse than any other school district in Cincinnati. More diverse in what way, Lemmy? As administrators? I've never seen any data in terms of who are CPS administrators. I'm talking about principals and assistant principals. Who are they? Are they overwhelmingly female? Are they overwhelmingly male? Are they overwhelmingly white? Are they overwhelmingly black? Are they overwhelmingly Asian? We don't know. Are they in their 30s? Are they in their 40s? Are they in their 50s? I have no idea. That would be very valuable information. It'd be very valuable. It would tell us a lot. Let me see. Nat writes, youth will lead the way. Yes, they will. They always have. They always have. Greg writes, Grand Risings, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Billy writes, this sounds like a student got in trouble for doing he was told to do, didn't like it and decided, I'll show you. I didn't detect that. Again, that doesn't explain this, Billy. That don't explain this. Like, how does what you just said explain the fact that their analysis finds that black students in CPS are 5 times more likely to receive exclusionary discipline? That don't match up, bro. That don't match up. That don't make any sense at all. Let me see. Tracy writes, what is the racial makeup of the SRR team district-wide? Don't know. I think that'd be interesting as well. In conjunction with understanding the demographics of the administrators. Who are they? Are they black? Are they white? Are they female? Are they millennials? Are they hip-hop generation? I refuse to say Generation X. Hip-hop generation? Are they civil rights generation? We don't know. I don't know. I would like to know because those are the people that are doling out the discipline. So we need to know. Ricky writes, is your group representative of the student body? Don't know. I don't know. When you say group, are you talking about in terms of the racial demographics of the student body? They're all students. We know that. So I don't know. Hey, good morning to you, Ricky. Oh, I love to catch up with you too, because I know y'all doing amazing work and about to do some big stuff. Billy writes, you have SROs who take kids on college tours. Yes, I know Eddie very well, who otherwise may not have this support. So if you remove the SRO and he stops these tours, who's going to pick it up? These young people who are talking now are just gone. Well, I don't think you have to be an SRO to do a college tour. You don't have to be an SRO to do a college tour. You don't. I know Eddie. Eddie's good people. Shout out to Eddie Hawkins this morning. He might be listening. But you don't have to be an SRO to do a college tour. When you have to do that? I think the college tour is great, actually. But there's two different issues, though, Billy. Brent writes, I guess that begs the question, why aren't the other students at the 17 schools speaking up? Question mark. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. Well, I don't even know if that line of questioning, to me, that question like, well, what are the other schools doing? You just heard Yusef say and Bella say that they're looking for more representation from other schools. They want representation from all the schools, which makes sense. I'm not really sure how that seems like nitpicking to me. I mean, because let's take that argument and apply it to apply it to the work that Sister Iris does, right? Like her and her organization been leading the charge. Because they may or may not have membership from every 52 neighborhood. But that don't take away from the work they doing. So I don't really see that. I think people are nitpicking, trying to find a way to like tear them down, which is very, very sad. Like I said, it's on full display. They don't even have to do it. We'll do it to ourselves. Oh, this must be a Warner Hills thing. They ain't got nobody from Taft. Well, you go organize it at Taft then if you care so much about it. They just told you they were open to it. That doesn't make any sense to me. What difference does it make? Like if YAC teams up with ACLU and they conduct an analysis via a series of freedom of information requests that they did. You didn't do it. They did it, right? And if we find out their analysis is true, who gives a damn how many students is in the organization? That's just nitpicking. Y'all need to stop that. I ain't for it. I'm gonna call it out. That don't make no sense whatsoever. That's like saying, the collaborative is invalid because they didn't have a representative from every 52 neighborhood in Cincinnati. What difference does that make? Who cares? What difference does that make? Do the numbers match up? Does it make sense? Are they in the right direction? If it's all yeses, who cares? What I would say to people, grown folks, if you feel that strongly, then if you got kids at Taft, call them. Call them and say, you should get involved with YAC. They doing great work. That's what I would say. Get your kids involved. If you feel that way, get them involved. If not, I don't understand it. It just don't really make a lot of sense to me. Let's go to the phones here. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nate. This is Donita. How are you?
I'm doing great, Donita. Welcome. Good morning to the show.
Hey, I just want to correct a couple of things that you said. First of all, I want to correct that I have a problem with Walnut because I don't. I am a proud Walnut Hills graduate, a proud graduate of Cincinnati Public Schools. And yes, I will be sending my son to Walnut Hills. I think you confuse my advocacy for other schools as hatred on Walnut Hills. So I do want to clear that up. My point, when I always say Walnut doesn't speak for everyone, is that we need to listen to the voices of the other schools. Walnut Hills will be fine, Nate. They will be fine. But the other schools, the other 16 high schools have a voice that deserves to be heard. I'm not trying to silence Walnut's voice at all. I want to hear from the other schools. So I would just like that to be corrected. I do not have a problem with Walnut Hills. I don't have a problem with Cincinnati Public Schools. I want Cincinnati Public Schools to be better. And so for me, if I see something wrong, I'm going to call it out in an effort that change can be made. I'm never going to sit back and just, oh, well, and throw my hands up. No, this is my city. I was born here. I live here. Proud graduate of Cincinnati Public Schools. So if I see something wrong, I'm going to say it. If I see something wrong at Walnut, I'm going to say it. But I don't appreciate you trying to paint me with this brush that I don't like Walnut or I have a problem with Walnut because it's highly inaccurate. So I would hope that'll be the last time that you would say that. Secondly, I think that we have to look at this survey for what it is. And I've said it several times, and I don't understand why we're missing it. If kids are being arrested by police, don't we need to know what those offenses were before we jump off the cliff? Because what if they are offenses that the SRO should have been involved in? I'm sorry, I don't care if you're black, white, polka dot. If you bring a gun to school, if you bring alcohol to school, if you assault someone, I want the SRO involved. And if those were the cases that the SRO was called, I don't think anyone should have a problem with that. If a kid is suspended for school for a Category 2 offense, I don't understand why any parent would have a problem with that. So before we jump off the cliff and say what is wrong, we need all of the facts, which we do not have. We need to make informed decisions. Before we go after people, you have to have all of your data or you're going to look foolish. How can we sit here and talk about these unproportionate discipline when we don't even know what the actions were? Would you not agree we need to know that first?
Know what first, exactly?
What the consequence was that led to the suspension, expulsion, or referral to the police. Don't you need to know what that was first?
I think that's an important part of the conversation, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to know that first. So if Joseph is listening, I need to know if he can provide that data. Because if he's saying, all of these led to police interventions or expulsions or suspensions, I think we need to look at what the actions were first. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, if a kid violated Cincinnati public policy and it is a true suspendable offense or expellable offense or referral to the police, Nate, you don't have a problem with that, right?
If I don't have a problem with it, what now?
If the offense is something that the child should be suspended for or expelled for or referred to the police, you don't have a problem with those actions being taken if that offense warrants that consequence. You don't have a problem with that, correct?
Well, what I will say is that I fully recognize that there might be examples or situations in which that kind of extreme discipline is necessary.
And if it is, you don't have a problem with it, correct?
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah, I mean, there might be scenarios in which that kind of actions or those kind of discipline is necessary.
So don't we need to know what those are first? How are we saying that it's disproportionate if we don't even know? Because like you just said, there are times when it should happen. We don't even know what the consequences were. Now, if a kid was walking down the hallway and running and they got suspended out of school, that's ridiculous. We need to know that. But if a kid did a true offense that requires that, we're not upset. I think actually we should be saying good job for keeping the other kids safe in the school. Is that a correct assumption as well?
I don't know. I didn't follow it completely. Is what a correct assumption?
If the schools are doing a good job because think about it, in Cincinnati Public Schools, you have a code of conduct. You know that part, right? There's a code of conduct. Okay. You know that the code of conduct is broken up into Category 1, Category 2, and Category 3. You know that, right?
I'm following you.
Oh, no, I'm asking because I just want to make sure you know that there's a Category 1, Category 2, and Category 3. Yes?
I follow you.
You're not. I'm asking a question.
That's the answer you're going to get. I said, I follow you. I mean, what else you want me to say? I understand what you're trying to say.
I thought it was just a yes or no question, but so does I follow you mean yes?
If that's how you want to take it, yeah. I mean,
okay.
What else could it mean?
Okay, then that's what I'll take it for. So we both understand also that with the category 1, category 2, category 3, category 3s are automatic expulsion. Well, I'm sorry, category 3s are automatic expulsion with recommendation for expulsion. Those are the offenses such as bringing a weapon to school, bringing drugs to school, assault, those kind of things. Nobody disagrees that those should automatically be a suspension with recommendation to expulsion. Nobody should disagree with that. Category 2s are things that are suspendable offenses. And I don't think anybody's going to disagree that if you commit a category 2, you should be suspended. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. So my point is, I don't understand why, if everybody knows what the code of conduct is, why we're so upset over the discipline that's being issued, if in fact these are true consequences that should be given for those offenses. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. You don't understand. So let me back up here. You said, so the reason why I said you seem to have a problem with Walnut is because your critique didn't match what was actually said. So when I asked Yusef about, the data, Yusef and Bella just happened to go to Walnut Hills. They just happened to go to Walnut Hills. They could go to any school. That's just the school they happened to go to. In terms of the analysis that he did, it wasn't a survey. In terms of their analysis, was based upon the Freedom of Information request from CPS. That's CPS wide. It's not just particular to Walnut Hills. So that's why I didn't understand your critique. You're like, well, why does Walnut Hills? It's not just about Walnut Hills. Their analysis is about the entire school district. They just happen to go to Walnut Hills.
When I said that they don't speak for Walnut Hills, they're saying
no. What you said was Walnut Hills doesn't speak for the
that's
entire district. That's what you said.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I
but
said.
they never tried to. They never tried to do
on.
that. They just happened to go to Walnut Hills. The data, I'll say it for the third time, is a reflection of all the CPS. So where do you get Walnut Hills doesn't speak for the entire district? Where's that? Why did that even come into the conversation?
Saying that SROs need to be removed, coming from students at Walnut Hills, and their group has only 2 members from Hughes. That's not a proper representation of the district. It's not. You can't have just Walnut Hills kids and 2 Hughes students speaking for everyone. I need to hear what Aiken kids think. Woodward, Cass, SCPA, Schroeder. I need to hear what those kids think. So that's why I said Walnut does not speak for everyone.
Well, what makes you, again, it doesn't match. You got a problem with Walnut kids. That's what it comes down. That's what it sounds like to me. Because your critique doesn't match the conversation. And you just made the same mistake again. They just happen to go to Walnut Hills. That's just where they happen to go to school. The data, that they're putting out there is district-wide, Danita. It's not just from Walnut Hills. So you can't, wait. I think it's unfair to them for you to try to downplay what they're doing because they just happen to go to Walnut Hills. When he came on here, he wasn't trying to represent and flex because I go to Walnut Hills, we speak for everybody. That's not what he said. What he said at the very end, and Bella said it as well, is we want more people. We want it to be more reflective from everybody in the district. That's what they said. So that's why I say I feel you got a problem with them for Walnut Hills because your critique didn't match what they said. You heard Walnut Hills. It's like, what? Walnut Hills don't speak for everybody. They never tried to. They never said that. You said that.
Again, you keep repeating that I have a problem with Walnut Hills, and I'll keep telling you that I don't.
And that's my opinion.
I really wish you would stop.
I wish you would stop. I wish you would. I wish that when you leave comments, your comments were more congruent to what was actually being said. Because it wasn't.
Not in reference to their data. My comment was not in reference to their data. See, the problem.
I know, and that's the problem. Your comment was in reference to where they happened to go to school, and that's why I said you had a problem with Walnut.
No,
I know.
Not. You're twisting what I said.
I'm not twisting what I said. That's exactly what you typed. That's exactly what you said. And you just said it again.
My comment that Walnut does not speak for the entire district.
Nobody ever said that they did, except for you.
Can I finish my statement?
Yeah, you talk for a long time. Now it's the part where we go back and forth.
Okay, well, let me at least finish my statement. My statement is Walnut Hills does not speak for the entire district when saying that SROs should be removed. This group of kids, whatever school they're from, the kids that are from Walnut and the two from Hughes, do not accurately represent the district.
And nobody ever said they did. You're telling us something we already know. We already know that, sis. That's not an intelligent observation. We know it and they know it. That's why they said that they were looking, that one thing that, and this is something you can do. Because what they said is they're looking for more reflective representation. And so since you feel this way, you should contact YAC and help them in that effort. And then here's the second issue. Have you looked at this analysis, this report? Have you actually seen the documents for yourself to read them?
Yeah.
So you've seen the documents for yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
And I still have questions.
What question could you possibly have?
My question is, what were the offenses that led to those consequences? I don't see that anywhere in the report. Is it in there?
He answered the question on you. I asked Yusef that question. Did you hear what he said?
No. What did he say?
Did you come to the conversation late?
I didn't hear it. I'm asking you, what did he say? I didn't hear it.
I'm just asking, were you here for the entire interview?
Nate, I did not hear it. What did he say?
But you didn't answer my question though, sis. Were you here for the entire interview?
Nate, I'm telling you, I did not hear him.
I know you didn't hear it, but I'm trying to figure out how did you miss it when it seemed to be something that you care so much about? I asked the question.
I don't know. I don't know how I missed it. So I'm asking.
He said, and I don't think in any way this was like some comprehensive analysis, but when I asked him, Yusef said that from what they saw, a lot of it had to do with assaults. And from what he described it, not my description. He said it was like student to student kind of situations. That's what he said. Because I was curious as well. So what's the nature of these offenses that's leading to these kind of in-school suspensions and expulsions and things like this?
So we don't have. So the answer to my question we really don't have. So we just spent all that time going back and forth, and you don't have the answer either.
No, I did. I gave you the answer from Yusef himself that you seem to miss.
He don't have the answer. Nate, you can't give statistics on one end and say, but most of them were this. That's not the way data works, Nate. If you have the data,
it sounds like you got some work to do then.
No, he has some work to do.
No. You got some work to do, sis. It sounds to me like if you got more questions, you should contact them and ask them. You should get involved with them.
I did.
Okay.
I did ask that question.
No. You should contact them on your own time. They on Facebook.
I did contact
them. Then if you did contact them, then you should know the answers to these questions already then. It sounds like you need to contact them again. It sounds like you need to contact them again and ask them again about the analysis because you have more questions. It sounds like you should get involved.
Now remember how you used to say I would change the narrative? Now that's kind of what you're doing.
Actually, I'm not. I'm just holding you responsible.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm holding you responsible. If you got all these questions and you so concerned, then get involved with them. If you want to see kids from across the district that's involved, you should get involved with them and help them do that.
No, I'm not going to go with.
I know you're not going to go there. I know because you're just going to talk ish about it. You want to shit on them, but you don't want to help them.
No, not at all.
That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what's happening. You want to shit on them, but you don't want to help them.
No,
that's exactly what's happening. Then get involved in, sis. You asking me. You asking me. Go ask them. You asking me. You should go ask them and get involved. That's what you should do.
Nate, I get it. I'm one of the people that
you should get it because it's real plain and simple for you. You need to get involved. Go get involved.
Okay. Well, the bottom line is this: Walnut don't speak for everybody. All the
Nobody ever said they did, sis. Get off of that. Get off of that, sis. Nobody ever said they did. They never. I'm not going to let you misrepresent these young activists. You're not going to do that here. I'm not going to let you get away with it. It ain't going to happen. They never tried to say that. That's not, you are misrepresenting what they said. They never said that. In fact, they said he was very clear about it. To the contrary, here they are asking for help. And instead of you saying, okay, I'm going to help you, talking about, well, Walnut don't talk for everybody. They never said they did, sis. You missed the point. Just like you missed it when I asked the question that you claim you care so much about.
Here's the thing. You didn't miss the point. You don't want to get the point. That's the basis of it. You didn't miss it. You don't want to get it. And I'm going to leave it on that. Have a great day, Nate. Hope you catch that.
Man, she be burning me. I love Danita. She be burning me up. That's my sister right there. Don't nobody get no twist. We ain't got no problems, never will have, but I got to speak my mind. She got to speak her mind. You ain't going to shit on these young activists. Why not on here? That's not what they said. They never came on here acting like, oh, we represent everybody. In fact, what they said is we need help. That's what they said. So we want to be more reflective and more representative. So whose fault is it? Is it the other kids? Is it the parents and the adults who are aware of what they're doing, but we're not transferring the information to our students so they can get involved? Or is it their fault because they decided to lead the charge? I'm not going to do that with them. I'm not going to shit on them like that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to nitpick them to death. I ain't doing none of that. That's not what he said. And you're misrepresenting it because you got a problem with Walnut. I don't know what the problem is, but that's what happened. That's my sister. This is a talk show where we have divergent points of view. We're going to go at it. We always going to be respectful. And she going to let me have it tomorrow, hopefully. I don't have no problems with nobody, but I'm going to speak my mind. And you're not going to shit on them on this show. That's if they had did that and did it, I would be the first one. But that's not what he said. That's not what they did. And that's some of that divide and conquer kind of shit. I'm going to nitpick them to death because they go to Walnut. Who gives a damn where they go? That the analysis that they did in conjunction with the ACLU, they did that. I didn't do it. Nobody else did it. They put in the work. So I'm not going to shit on them because they put the work in and maybe some kids from some other schools haven't joined. Again, the analysis, as I understand it, is system-wide. It's not just about Walnut. They just happen to go to Walnut. I'm not going to hold that against them. In no part of that conversation did Bella or Yusef come across like, oh, we go to Walnut, so this is how it is. No, that's not what they said. That's not what they said at all. They just happened to go to a particular school. They could have easily went to any other school. And if they did, I wouldn't look at them any more or less favorably. I would look at them the same. I would judge it on the merit of what they're saying, the work they're trying to do, and the veracity of the analysis that they did. And that's it. So I think that if people feel really strongly about not having, well, we need more representation, well, that's on the adults. They can't do it all. That means that the adults, we got children and nieces and nephews. We need to let people know, let our nieces and nephew and our children know, like, look, do you have a YAC at your school? And we need to let them know and get them at least offer it. So you don't want to force anybody, but at least offer them the opportunity to join if they feel like they want to join. But I'm not going to shit on them because they went to Walnut or they only got 2 or 3 members in their organization. They must be doing something right. They teamed up with the ACLU. That's all I see. But again, we can get heated, but I got nothing but love for Danita, and it ain't gonna never change. That's just me. But let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Yo, what's up? It's Donnie B. What's up, Chop Shop?
What's up, Donnie? How you doing?
I'm good. I ain't been on in a long time, but I had to call in for my girl Danita and say a couple of things. So first, Danita, I love you. But one of the things I find with you is, the deeper dive and the critical analysis a lot of times in your thought process is missing. So I agree with you. It would be nice to know the offenses that the kids were charged with, but that's really irrelevant to the conversation. It makes it seem as if, so let's say we go back and we see that everybody that was suspended and expelled brought a knife to school, had drugs, beat the hell out of another student, all of that. The issue is, so you're saying white kids don't do that same stuff? So at Walnut Hills in particular, blacks don't make up 63% of the population. Whoever threw those stats out, that's wrong. We only make up 40%. So then when you see under the stats that you have a greater percentage of blacks getting suspended and expelled than whites, then it's either one or two reasons for that. Discrimination, or we're saying white kids don't do bad stuff to justify getting in trouble. I don't believe that. White kids do drugs. White kids bring knives and guns to school too. White kids mess up and fight too. But the administrators are white. So what you need, Danita, is an analysis of not, hey, it shows that Mike, beat the hell out of somebody. It's a subjective interpretation of what Mike did. For example, I'm going to be fully transparent. Miss Smithson needs to be fired at Walnut. My son is a straight A student. He don't get in trouble at all. She called me up at my job talking about she checked the tape and she wanted to give my son a detention because at lunch, instead of walking down the stairs, it was crowded. My baby decided to hop over the retaining wall to get to class so he wouldn't be late. That's the BS that these white administrators be on. And it would have said detention, violating unruly behavior or some crap is what she tried to put on my son's file, and I fought it. So the bottom line is just because they say assault, just because they say you brought a knife to school, just because they say you did whatever, doesn't mean, number one, that you did it. And doesn't mean that there are not other white kids that are doing the same thing, but they get a pass and our babies don't. So when you talk about looking at stats, so we don't just need to know what the kids did. What the black kids did, they got in trouble. We need to know what the white kids are doing that aren't getting suspended and that aren't getting expelled. Because there's a myth out here and an assumption, no different than the police. When I deal in the civil rights space, I'm like, black people do not make up but just 13% of the U.S. population. But we make up over 45% of the shootings by police in the U.S. Are you saying that blacks commit more crime? That's BS. We get stopped more. We get profiled more. We get charged more. So when I look at these administrators, I see how they treat white and black kids and the differences. That's the question. And for her to say she doesn't have a problem with Walnut, let me say this. I think that in Cincinnati Public Schools, and my son does go to Walnut, there is a difference between how CPS treats Walnut Hills parents and students versus the other schools. But there's multiple reasons for that. Number one, and I'll say this to all the parents, they can come at me if they want to. The Walnut Hills parents, we go hard for our children. And we teach our children to go hard for themselves. But I watched when the whole COVID-19 stuff went down, and everybody was complaining about going back to school. But who protested and showed up at the schools to make their voices heard for COVID? It was us. What did y'all show up for? Oh, we want our kids to go back to school because we want them to play football and basketball because we think they're going to be the next Eddie George and LeBron James. But your kid is failing every subject. All your schools in academic emergency. And y'all don't go to CPS school board to protest on none of that shit. You don't go to protest about the curriculum. You don't go to protest about any of the stuff that really matters. But then when Walnut Hills kids get what you call special treatment, then you want to complain. If I don't see you at a school board meeting, if I don't see you putting a foot in Lord Mitchell the way me and Nate do, if I don't see you talking to Carolyn Jones and any of the other school board members and doing any of the advocacy that I do for my son at my school, please don't tell me about Walnut and the special treatment. My son gets the treatment at CPS that he gets because I am an advocate for my son's education. If my son went to Aiken, I put a foot in the principals at Aiken. If my son went to Hughes, the principal at Hughes would know me. But I get tired of these parents that don't talk to principals, don't meet with teachers, don't invest in their kids' education in any way, don't advocate for them in any way, being mad at Walnut because we do. So, Danita, I promise you, when you and Billy send your son to Walnut and you see what it really is, you're going to be advocating for your son, and he's going to reap the same rewards that me and Nate's kids get because you advocate. So I'm like, let's stop it. These babies need our help. Don't come on the show and complain. If you're not going to go help these children, if you want more kids in the program from other schools, go get them. It's the same with youth court. We do youth court at juvenile court. My son is one of the only black students that serves as a jury in youth court. I tried to get black kids in the neighborhood to go to West High and to go to Dayton and to go to other schools to join. They don't want to do that. So my thing is, you want not because you advocate not. Don't blame Warner and hate on us. Do your job. Rise to the highest because we do. That's it.
Appreciate the call. Appreciate the call. I know, Donnie, it's all love. You know, for me, all love. I can get heated. We can argue. This is what we supposed to do in black media. We supposed to go hard. But at the end of the day, no disrespect intended. I know Donnie very well. She know me. She meant what she said. And it's all love. You know, we all in the same boat. And there's a whole lot more that goes on. But, you know, it's not for here to talk about it. And there's a lot of folks that's doing just out there, putting a foot in that ass, but it's not to be talked about. And you get what you advocate for. And I'm gonna go hard for mine. I don't care about being no friends. I can be the most despised man at Walnut Hills. As long as my baby's taken care of, as long as the babies are taken care of, that's all that really matters to me. I got plenty of friends. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool with the folks I rock with now, and I agree with her point, though. I mean, that doesn't really matter. You know, she said it a lot better than I did. It doesn't really matter because it assumes that it's justified. And again, those numbers are off. She said 40. Yusef said 26%. I'm not sure what the demographics are. I think it's closer to 26% at Walnut. But yet, if their analysis, and that's why I keep saying, if the analysis is correct, then we got to deal with it. And I don't care who did the analysis. I don't care what school they went to. It don't matter. If the analysis is on point, if the numbers are right, then questions need to be asked. Simple as that. And answers need to be given. And it don't matter if black folks do it or white folks do it or Walnut Hills kids or whatever, but I refuse. And that's not just the kids at YAC. I feel that about all activists. I see somebody here doing it and they out here on some positive ish. Either I'm going to help or get the hell out of your way so you can continue doing what you're doing. And I feel the same way with these youth-led organizations. I mean, I'm either going to help or stay the hell out of your way so you can do what you're trying to do so we can, you know, have a betterment for the community. And I'll say it again. What pisses me off is they said we want more help. We want it to be more representative. So that's on us, the adults. Then we got to get involved and say, and let the young people know in our lives know, like, hey, you got this organization, tell them about it. You know, send them to their Facebook page or something like that. Show them the information. They might decide not to, or they might decide they want to join. And that's it. That's it. That's one small way that we can help, these youth activists. And we don't have to agree on the SRO. I know there's a lot of big, wide, different opinions about that. But when it comes to those numbers about discipline, come on. I think we all on the same point on that one. We want to know, is this true? If so, what are you going to do about it? And I think that's fair. I think that's the right thing to do. So I don't stand in when I see people doing good work, I'm either jumping on board in some way, or I'm getting the hell out of your way so you can continue to do what you're doing. I mean, I don't think that, I think that's as much as you can give, because not everybody has time to hit the streets. We all working and busy. We got different levels of time commitment. I completely understand that. But I ain't gonna ish on these young folks because they happen to be from Walnut Hills. I just can't do that. That's what I heard, Danita. If I misheard it, okay, but that's what I heard. But let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nathan. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Welcome to the show.
Oh, okay. Because I'm disgusted after Donnie B's call. I've never been so insulted and heard something so supercilious and elitist in my life. Like the other parents, talk about some y'all was rallying for y'all kids to go back to school to play ball, and if that's the best they can pull out of the public school experience, so fucking be it. Not everybody's an academician. Some people are kinesthetic learners, athletes. What did Floyd Mayweather get out of public schools? Not a gosh darn thing. But somehow he's worth $500 million through his physical attributes. you know? And in this day and age, let's be honest, how do you really need to go to school? Do you really need to go to school for anything to improve your life quality? With the internet out there, there's all types of teenagers getting hundreds of thousands, millions a year doing stuff on the internet. And I just heard that. It was like, damn, why she going in like that? You know what I'm saying? I mean, my kids don't go to CPS. It was just, you know, I was just like, wow. You know, and truth be told, school kids also don't need to go to school just because of, you know, the problems that happen at school. I mean, we just, 2 weeks ago, kid in Tennessee got capped in the bathroom. That gets eliminated if all the schools are virtual. You know, I know there's a social, I know that's kind of a touchy subject, but it's going to happen. Here in the next few years, 10, 15 years, all schools will be virtual. There won't be no more brick and mortar schools. You know, so I don't know. I was just, you know, I'm driving back from somewhere and I just heard that and I was just like, damn, Donnie, that's mean as hell what you talking about. Like, I don't know. I ain't gonna say she lost a fan, but I don't want to hear that this Friday. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, like, keep things in perspective. You have a talk show. People out here listening to you. Don't alienate everybody trying to prove a point. But I digress. Hey, Nathan, it's been real. I had fun. I'll talk to you soon, B.
All right, take it easy. That's Fame checking in. We had another call coming in, but I'm doing a one call system right now. So call me back and I'll put you straight on at 513-873-7134. I love it, man. Blood gets boiling and drilling gets going. We need these kind of conversations. We need intense, non-Cincinnati polite conversations right here. Because, you know, I know all these people involved. It's all love. Man, I'm the oldest of two brothers and sisters. We go at it. Never the blows. But we go at it, you know, arguing. I mean, that's going to happen. And that's good for the conversation. That's good for the family. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, who hasn't had an intense argument or back and forth with a family member? Raise your hand. I can't raise my hand. I can go at it. But they still family. You know, we go to our corners. Woosah, come back. And again, all opinions are valued. It don't mean we gonna agree, as you heard this morning. We're not always gonna agree. But I'm here for all of that. As long as we ain't talking about doing something physical, I'm not doing none of that with none of my people ever. But if it's just rhetorical and we disagree, and you know, I know the way I do it, I might get hard in the paint in the argument, and then afterward I'll sit down and reflect and think, like, okay, is there something I can glean from it? That's just called being an adult, right? So that's how I look at these conversations. That's how I look. I love Danita. I love her calls. I love the fact that she challenged me and she challenged people. I love it. Don't stop, sis. And I ain't gonna stop being me. And that's what's gonna make this good. Because everybody's strong in here. Everybody in here strong, and I like that. I like strong, intelligent Black people. I love it. I'd rather be around that every day of my life than any other kind of folks to be around. Quite honest, that's just me. I like strong-willed individuals. I like it. And I'm here for it. And when I say that, I invite it. I know what I'm inviting. And I'm here for it. Because hopefully it's always going to be in the lane of pushing the conversation forward. You know what I'm saying? But we don't have to be shy about it. You know, it is what it is. Simple as that. It's the chop shop for a reason. Everybody gets it. Let me see here. Yeah, and you know, I've heard that story before since she put it out there. And I've heard other stories like that from other parents as well. And I've got my own experiences, and they're all true, and it's all valid. And you know, I know. See, I don't talk about things I don't care about. Like, you never hear me talk about Britney Spears, do you? Because I don't give a damn about Britney Spears. Could give a cup look less. Right? You don't hear me talk about Taco Bell. Not against Taco Bell. I don't care about it. I talk about what I care about. I care about CPS. Even if I didn't have children, I would care because I'm from Cincinnati. I graduated from CPS, and I can see just how important what they do to the overall the overall community is very important. This is not a laughing matter. I don't take any of this lightly. I take it very, very seriously. The fact that my own children are there, oh, you already know. I mean, I can't think of anything more important than the health of our public school system. And I can see how it fits into everything else that happens in this city. And I love Cincinnati. I'm from Cincinnati. I want to see Cincinnati succeed. I want Cincinnati to be the A1 city. And I want Black Cincinnati to enjoy everything that this city has to offer. And we can do that. I feel 100% that we can do that. And it's going to take conversations like this and actions from the community and elected officials, the business community, to make that happen. But we can do it. And we can't be shy about that. We can't be shy about having those full frontal conversations. I mean, it is what it is. Let me see here. Let me see. I see a lot of conversation in the shop. Kaz writes, I agree, Nate is nitpicking because not every kid wants to be an activist, just like every adult doesn't. Stop right there. She's so right about that. Like, not everybody, and I keep saying Iris just because she's here. I ain't trying to, she understands. I'm just using her as an example because we all know her. Not everybody can do what she do. Not everybody built like that. But it don't mean that everybody don't benefit. It don't mean that what she's doing is any less. Same thing with Yusef and Bella. Not every CPS student is built like that. Now, let me show you an image right here. Not every CPS student is willing to do this. This was just taken on Monday at the Mayerson Academy. Shout out to WVXU. That's an image from one of their reporters. I give all credit to creative people here locally. But not every student is built like that. So the fact that you only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, in my opinion, does not invalidate what they're doing. They's just the one that stood up and did it. They just the ones that's got their heart. So I'm not going to say, well, where's the kids from North Avondale? I don't know. Don't matter. It's irrelevant. All I know is what they doing. That's all I know. All I do is see them out there. So I'm not, and again, they said we need help. We looking for more representation. To me, that means a community, grown folks like me and you, we got to step in there and help or get the hell out of their way and let these young folks do whatever the fuck they trying to do. Wherever this is going to take them, wherever it's going to take in a positive way, that's what we supposed to do. Either help or get out the way. Doesn't mean we can't ask questions, because questions are good. But either help or get out the way. Not everybody is an activist. Shoot, I'm not saying I'm that dude. You don't see me out there with the boots on like you see Brian and other folks out there. They built for that. I'm built for what I do. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a role in this. And I just give respect to everybody. And, it is what it is. Jack writes, dang, bro, are you listening? Yeah, listen. I didn't say a word. She talked for 5 minutes. But at some point, we get to the back and forth phase of the conversation. And that's where we was. It is what it is. Fame writes, what the F is going on here, LOL? It's the chop shop, man. We have some of the most full frontal conversations. And again, this is a family conversation. That's how I look at it. I don't got no issues with no peoples. It's all love. I'm human too. We all human. This is how I look at it. I think this is good. Okay, I'm seeing it now. Donnie said she was going to call in. Fame writes, Nathan is petty as F. I'm not petty. I am petty. We all petty. Everybody got some petty in them. I'm a Virgo, so I can't tell you I don't have no petty in me. So let me correct the facts there. I can be petty as anybody else. Probably even more so, but it depends on the scenario and who I'm dealing with. But in that conversation, that wasn't about petty, Fame. That was about correcting the facts. Like I said, these young folks with YAC was out here, and I just felt like I wanted to make sure people understood what they was actually saying. They never said we want the hills and we represent everybody. They never said that. In fact, Yusef, in a couple of questions I asked, was very intentional in making sure that he said, well, this ain't about just one school. Every time he's come on the show, he said that. This ain't about just Walnut Hills. They just happen to go to Walnut. That's not what they said. Everybody knows that. And they're looking for, a broader coalition. And I hope it works. But like I said, you got a lot of punked out parents in Cincinnati. You got a lot of punked out adults. I'm going to keep my head down, y'all. Don't look them in the eyes. Oh, Lord, I looked them in the eyes. It's a lot of that happens in this city on different levels. And scared parents breed scared children. That's all I'm saying. I ain't talking about nobody in here in particular. I'm just saying we all know that's generally to be the case. And that's the reason why some of these persistent problems, we can't never deal with them. People scared. I ain't going to say nothing. Oh, I'm going to get fired. And I get it. You got to make that money. There's certain things when you're working for people you just can't do. I get it. I respect it. I'm not telling you to put your livelihood on the line and make a comment. That would be stupid. I get it. But stay the hell out of the way of the people who are not. Stay out of their way. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not going to shit on them kids, man. I'm not going to do it. Ronald writes, kids respond better to authority figures when they know who they are and they trust them. They don't trust these police officers or SROs. That's a complicated issue. It really is. The SRO conversation, I'm willing to let the youth, the students lead that because they're the ones who are there. Of course, as a parent, I've got a dog in that fight because I got kids there as well. I can see it both ways. I can understand the larger conversation that they're having. But in my own experience, I've been around SROs who I thought brought positivity to the game. They brought positivity to the building. When it was time to get blizzy, they got blizzy now. But they brought a softness and more of a relationship to their interactions with the students. But again, I can say that, but I can still acknowledge that I can understand the merits of some of the larger points that the folks from YAC have made and did make and are making. I can understand that as well. So that's a very complicated community conversation. It really, really is. In my opinion, it's just not just open. It's not just like black and white. It really isn't. Elaine writes, we need the data first, so we have the data now. Without the data, who looks further? And I don't believe elementary school kids are bringing weapons to school regularly. These suspensions and expulsions are early elementary grades. Right. It's the implicit bias of the administrators and some teachers. That's what it is. And these are the individuals that make those decisions about discipline. When you talk about the school to prison pipeline, then you have to, on some levels, focus on the people who are making decisions as to when we're going to bring an SRO into the decision, to the conversation. Do the actions and behaviors of students rise to the level of exclusionary discipline practices and policies? It's humans making those decisions, and we got to focus on that. That's where some of the focus has to be. It has to be right there. And the formal and the informal. I don't think CPS takes enough data for the interactions they have with parents and children. So for example, so student has a problem, goes to the administrator with a problem. They're not always documented. It's not always documented. Here's another way it's not always documented. Teacher does something to a student. Parents form Voltron, go to the school, sit down with the administrator, and in some cases, the teachers. There's no documentation. In a lot of cases, it's just a conversation. So there is no data that can be used to track the behavior of these teachers in some cases. It's just like the administrator says, you messed up there. Yeah, well, I had a bad week and I brought it to the school. Meanwhile, you abuse a student. Parents go in and form Voltron. Administrator sympathizes. Well, I understand and I talk to them. And if it happens again, tells me. There's no documentation of that. We don't know how often that happens. We don't know the nature of what those things happen. I'm telling you, I've heard all kinds of, you won't even believe the things that I've heard. You won't even believe it. You will think I'm making it up. No documentation. It's just the teacher, and then they're friends with the administrator in a lot of cases. So they're on the same team. I want to give you a second chance. Meanwhile, you might have either short-term, medium, or long-term had a lasting impact on this child. Parents are outraged. All they left with is some promises from the administrator, but there's no real documentation whatsoever. But when your kid do something, they open up that file and put it in there permanently. You see what I'm saying? We don't have enough data in those kind of interactions to really track what's happening, who's doing what, who are the usual suspects, so to speak, and then how are these administrators actually dealing with it? They don't track that. They don't track that. They sit you in a room, they talk to you, try to sweeten you up, say, yeah, I'm gonna talk to him. Yeah, you was right, he was wrong. Walk away, nothing happens. There's no document whatsoever. There's no paper trail. Hell, nobody knows except for the administrator and the teacher and the parent and the student. And that's it. Now, how is that fair? How do you track that? You don't. So it just kind of never really happened. So we don't really know. Sarah writes, what you need to understand is that those categories are discretionary depending on who is delving out the punishment. Say exactly. Donnie writes, the data is the data. They're not speaking for anyone. Right. It's just data. It's not about Walnut. It's not about one particular school. It's about the system, the whole CPS school system. David writes, I'm sensing there should be a herbal green tea summit with Danita and Nate. I'm down with it. I'm done. Herbal green tea summit. I'm done. I know we supposed to do that. I like the fact she stood her ground. You know, I'm gonna stand mine. It is what it is. It's good. It's good. It's good for us. Good conversation. Wake you up this morning. They do not need to be removed. That is a national problem, sis. The ACLU did this data and study based on the entire district. That's what I was trying to say. Has nothing to do with Walnut. They just happened to go to Walnut. They could have just as easily went somewhere else. But what I'll say about Walnut again is people like to look at them and they say, "Oh, it's special." It's because you got a high concentration. And in no way am I trying to come across as elitist or anything like that. I'm just calling it what it is. But you got a high concentration of high-performing students and perhaps high-performing parents. Parents has got the time and the experience and the connections to get blizzy. And they going to get blizzy. And that's what happens. They're going to get blizzy. If you got a high concentration of those kind of people in one building, then that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get. And that's why we had a conversation with somebody. I was like, the prestige is where those students, the human element of it. It's the people that make that any school building what it is. It's those students and those parents. Again, I'll say it again. If you get a high concentration of high-performing, connected parents that's got the time and the energy and the connections to get blizzy, then that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get. And it is what it is. It is what it is. Let me see. Cass writes, so you want to hear from kids from every school, but as adults, we vote for politicians mainly from two political parties. So do you not vote because you want to hear from candidates from other parties? That doesn't make sense to me. That's what I was trying to say, but I ain't trying to pile on. Willie writes, Nathan Ivey, yes, he is. He got into it with an SRO. Now every SRO is a bad person. You talking about Yusuf? Yeah, he did talk about that. He did have a negative reaction with an SRO. And is that informing his actions? It probably is. But I think that's why I keep saying we have to look at the data. We have to look at, is this a valid conversation? And if it's a valid conversation, then it's a valid conversation. It doesn't matter about Youssef or Bella or anybody else's individual situation. But I bet you that's how a lot of activists get started. They have an interaction that opens their eyes, or is something they can't get over, and that spurs them to action. I don't think that's unusual. I think that's very usual in my opinion. Tracy writes, wow. Fame writes, this interaction is hysterical. Ryan writes, our SRO at Withrow was the track coach back in the day. Rachel writes, good morning, family. I have joined at the Danita versus Nathan CPS conversation. I mean, it is what it is. Jerica writes, we all have our own opinions and perspectives. Should we be ridiculed for that? I hate hearing a man go hard on a woman. I didn't go hard on her. That wasn't hard. That wasn't hard at all. If you thought that was hard, you don't never want to see hard. That was nothing. That's just a minor disagreement over a conversation. That ain't hard. I reserve hard for the people that really deserve it. That wasn't hard at all. That was just a talk radio conversation. Danita writes, who is speaking? No, Daniela writes, who is speaking for any school? Question mark. They simply publish district-wide data on discipline. That's what I thought. Jerica writes, things are getting disrespectful and petty. I don't think things ever got disrespectful. I don't think it was just not how I would look at disrespect. I mean, she disagreed and she held me accountable. She helped try to help my feet to the fire. That comes with the territory. I didn't find it disrespectful at all. And I had no reason to disrespect her. I don't think I said anything disrespectful. I have no reason. I don't feel disrespectfully toward her. She pressed my buttons when she was trying to shit on them kids. But other than that, I mean, no, I've got no reason to disrespect her. Again, I say the disrespect for the people that really need it. She don't deserve that. No. That was just a difference of opinion from two strong-willed individuals. And I love it. I hope she called back again tomorrow, hold my feet to the fire to make for a great show. I love it. Sarah writes, Danita, you can't win this battle. This has nothing to do with Walnut Hill students. This is a national problem, and it shouldn't be a surprise for you. Queen writes, Grand Rising to everyone. I'm here. Glad to have you. Nat writes, Nate, just give her the last word, as I always do. I give the callers the last word. You can get the last word when we own. I mean, I'm gonna get the last word because I'm the host, and after you get off the air, I still get a chance to talk. But during the conversation, I always give whoever's on the line the last word. That's just basic talk show host respect. Drops in the house. He writes, the Nathan Ivy Show, fair and biased. #BND. So since Danietta, keep getting them twisted. Since Danietta called in, I want to give you a heads up. She's got 2 more of the mayoral candidates coming on the show for Friday. Okay, you don't want to miss it. Check it out on Friday. She got AFTAP coming in on Friday, and she got Cecil Thomas coming in on Friday, and maybe one more as well. I have yet to confirm it, but that'll be, if you don't know, that show starts at 12:30 and typically goes to 2 p.m., so about 90 minutes on Friday. And the conversation with the mayoral candidates with AFTAP is going to start at 1 p.m. approximately. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'm sure she's got a whole different perspective than perhaps you've heard anywhere else. Pardon me. And make sure you check it out. That's at 12:30 on Friday. AFTAP Pureval and Cecil Thomas. A lot of people saying those are the 2 front runners. We have to wait and see on May 4th, but you'll get at least one more chance to hear from them during the conversation on Friday. So check it out. Check it out. And when you see it, please like and share it. Please like and share it. Let me see. Yeah, I'm with you, Danita. She writes, no, we're having a community conversation. I love Danita. She loves me. Don't do that. Right. Don't do that. Ain't no differences in here. You might hear me go hard. So what? Somebody might call and go hard at me. So what? That's just a conversation. And it's it. It's an opportunity to reflect. And that's it. You move on. You can't do this business and have super thin skin. You cannot do this. You're not going to survive. See, Danita writes, Jerica writes to Donnie, no, I believe we're all entitled to our own opinions, even if it differs from our own. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Tracy writes, damn. Donnie writes, right, Nate, get kids from the other schools to join the coalition. Right. You ain't gonna never hear me do that. And it's not about kids or not. You ain't gonna never hear me issue on somebody that's out here doing something for our community. Never. I might have something to say about it, like add to the conversation, but ish on them? No, I'll just stay out the way. Let them do what they got to do. TNT writes, maybe YAC can conduct a student survey with all CPS schools asking about their thoughts on SROs. Do you have a negative or positive relationship? Do they make you uncomfortable? Have you ever had a disciplinary accounted with an SRO? This would give a broader voice of how students feel at each CPS school. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that would be good. I think a more reflective and comprehensive conversation about that issue is exactly what's needed. I'm down for that. All right, before we roll out of here, let me say it again. This is a media platform, and we do offer placement for media ads, whether you're a small business or even political campaigns. Now, as it relates to political campaigns, I don't do endorsements. I don't do any personal endorsements because this is open to all political parties, independent, Republican, Democrat. I'm not saying that all money is good money, and there's a limit to everything. But generally speaking, it really makes no difference to me unless you're an agent of destruction for our community, and then I can't work with you. But generally speaking, as I said, this is open for political candidates, including Mr. Prophet, who's running for mayor. So this is not a personal endorsement. Check this out, and we'll finish up on the other side.
Hello, I'm Mr. Same Old Same Old. I'm running for mayor.
Hold up. Haven't you run for a bunch of offices always promising change but doing nothing?
Yeah, but
nothing. I'm not voting for the same old politicians to clean up City Hall and create change. We need to vote Prophet for mayor. He will be bold, courageous, fair, and stop corruption at City Hall. I'm voting for Prophet. Prophet for people.
I'm Raphael Prophet, and I'm asking for your vote, as I will do what is right, what is just, and what is fair. Paid for by Prophet for Mayor, Dwight Crawford, Treasurer.
hello, I'm Mr. Same Old Same Old. I'm running for mayor.
Hold up. Haven't you run for a bunch of offices always promising change but doing nothing?
Yeah, but
nothing. I'm not voting for the same old politicians to clean up City Hall and create change. We need to vote Prophet for mayor. He will be bold, courageous, fair, and stop corruption at City Hall. I'm voting for Prophet. Prophet for people.
I'm Raphael Prophet, and I'm asking for your vote, as I will do what is right, what is just, and what is fair. Paid for by Prophet for Mayor, Dwight Crawford, Treasurer.
Again, that is a media ad and not a personal endorsement. So before we roll out of here, because we're a little bit after 10 this morning, there's one more thing I wanted to bring to your attention. This is a video that has gone viral that shows a very tense interaction between a black woman who is actually at her home and a woman from her neighborhood. And this happened down in Virginia. And I'm a big fan of surveillance cameras. I'm a big fan of taping, recording Karens and Darrens who might be behaving badly. I'm big about that because, when you document it, that's when you can really capture it. In today's world, if you don't have no receipts, then it's like the shit didn't really happen. So I'm a big fan of, getting you a surveillance system, putting it on your porch, because anything can happen. Anything can happen. And this was caught on a porch surveillance cam. It's only about 26 seconds. And I want you to hear what this woman says. She goes to another woman's house. I admit, I don't have all the details as to what the issue was about. You might have seen this. This happened in Virginia. I'm going to play this for you. And what it illustrates is just how aware people are about how race and the dynamics of race plays out in America. That's the moral of the story. But I'm also going to tell you the ending of the story as well. So it's only about 26 seconds. It's going to be real quick. And I might even play it twice just to make sure we get it. All right, check this out.
You need to get your son. No, you need to get your son. I don't know how you raise your kids and they're so trashy like you. Watch me. Watch me handle it. Watch me. You're not the right color, honey.
Not the right color, honey. That's what she said to her. She said, "You are not the right color, honey." Huh? What? What's she mean by that? Let's play it one more time. This happened in Virginia, and I don't know what the backstory is. I wish I did, but I can tell you what the conclusion is. It didn't end well. We'll put it that way. Let me play it one more time. All right? Hold on one second. Let me pull this up. Let me pull it up first, and then we'll play it. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. All right, check this out. Real quick, 26 seconds. Listen to what she says.
You need to get your son. No, you need to get your son. I don't know how you raise your kids and they're so trashy like you. Watch me. Watch me handle it. Watch me. You're
You are not the right color, honey. Like, she gonna call the police, and because he's white and the other woman is black, that she kind of feels like the police or whatever is gonna be in her favor. Huh? And apparently she called it the N-word too. This happened in the community of Colonial Heights down in Virginia, as is being reported by the Progress Index newspaper down there. And the woman that you saw on the phone, well, apparently she's lost her job behind this. She lost her job. So, I just love to hear when these Karens and Darrens get dealt with. That's the power of social media. Don't ever underestimate the power of social media. That's why I say this right here is real powerful. Real power. You start dealing with this, and one of these Karens and Darrens or one of these folks want to call you the N-word or treat you differently because you record their ass. Record them and put it on social media. Put it on straight on social media. You having interactions, because that's the last thing they want. And people talk all tough in the moment until they get that call from the boss like, we got a problem. It's effective. It's very effective. I love it. Good for her. Good for her. And that's my time. That's my time. Have an excellent rest of your day, family. I really appreciate you. Shout out to Bella, Youssef, and Elena with the ACLU, Bella and Youssef with the Young Activist Coalition for their time this morning. I really appreciate it. Please like and share today's show. We had a lot of emotion, which I think is really good on the show today. A lot of good, strong opinions. Thank you to all the callers. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, plugging into the show. Help lift us up by liking and in particular sharing today's show. And I'll be back with you and hopefully better than ever tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Never know who in the world we're going to be talking to. Primarily, we talk about everything, but I'm based in Cincinnati. And as you can tell, I am a black man. So we talk a lot about Cincinnati issues and things that relate to black Cincinnati and black folks in general. But we talk about everything. We talk about everything on the show. If you're coming in for the first time, maybe on YouTube or Facebook, go ahead and hit me with a subscription. If you're watching on Facebook, if you haven't already done so, you can do a couple things. You can subscribe to our Facebook page, but you can also subscribe to the Facebook video feed, which means that when any podcast goes live, you'll get a notification. Okay. So thank you so much for being here. Have an excellent Wednesday, and I'll catch up with you real soon.